Whether it's comics, trading cards, Donruss, Cooper Flag bounties, or even graded video games, no matter where you look in the collectible market, things are booming. We're going to talk about this new bull market coming up next on the Ungraded Truth podcast. Detective Comics set a record for 1.8 million. Nobody really cares.
Who are annoyed that people are asking them questions, is this book banned? That question didn't exist a year ago.
Somebody's submitting like 25 vintage books and getting 15 9.9s.
We always think, how can it ever get crazier? And then it always does.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the number one collectible show in the universe, The Ungraded Truth. I am Swaggle joined, of course, as always, by my co-hosts. We got Rob, Neo Carson Comics. We got Ryan, Automatic Comics, and Manu, the 99 Newsstand. Gentlemen, how are you doing? Especially you, Rob, who is looking rather ominous in the dark right now.
I haven't had power for 6 hours, so things are going swimmingly.
And I may lose power during this stream because the storm that took your power out is coming our way. So we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, well, shout out to you guys for still deciding to tune in to the show, trying to make it, especially you, Rob, who's on your phone right now, using a flashlight to light your face. But that's how important the collectible market is right now, because we have a huge show. I mean, I feel like every show is huge, but I feel like this show in particular, we have so much to talk about, including something that, because we had our late start here at 5:30, typically we like to start at 5 o'clock. I had the guys push the show back just a little bit so that we could do a live watch along for when the 1966 PSA 9 Donruss card sells. So we have that to look forward to later on in the show. People are going to be big mad for sure. But before we get there,
we're pumping it up on here too, right? So
100%. But before we get there, before we get into all of our big topics, the PSA AF-15, the Cooper Flag bounty, et cetera, we have to do some housekeeping. Guys, the Ungraded Truth YouTube channel, currently at 1,960 subscribers. We are just a handful away from getting to 2K. If you haven't yet subscribed to the Ungraded Truth YouTube channel, please head on over to the link in the description and go give it a sub. And while you're over there, maybe click on one of these links, jump on over to our Spotify page as well, because if you want to listen to us every single week on your favorite RSS feed, you can do so on Spotify. Again, The Ungraded Truth is a co-stream across all of our various YouTube channels and X accounts and things of that nature. So be sure, no matter where you're watching, to hop on over to everyone's link in the description and give everyone a follow, a sub, all those good things, because we appreciate everybody taking the time to talk collectibles like they do every 2 weeks. Guys, before we get into our main topic, I mean, any other little things, like little stories before we get it rolling? I mean, I don't know.
I was telling these guys beforehand, I pet a bear cub this last week, so that was exciting. So
what?
that was my fun thing.
You have a pet bear?
No, we pet a bear cub.
You pet a bear cub. I thought you said you had a bear cub, meaning your bears gave babies or gave birth. Okay. All right.
I would try to. My mind instantly went to taxidermy because I was trying to think of how I could segue this into a collectible thing. Like maybe a bear cub could be, collectible one day. I don't know.
Someday people will, want them.
Well, I don't know if they would be selling for $150,000. But guys, we have to get into our lead story for tonight, which was, of course, the PSA AF-15 7.0 sale that just happened on Golden Auctions a few days ago. In our previous show, we had set up this conversation of, this being one of the more expensive PSA comic books that has maybe hit market. And this being set up at Golden was going to be a really interesting thing to watch. Now, to set the conversation even a little bit further, we were all speculating that maybe this was going to underperform because in previous auctions, we've been seeing that PSA comics like the Giant Size X-Men ones and the More Fun comics and things of that nature have been underselling CGC. Well, that did not happen with this particular book, where the AF-15 sold for $149,300. This is the most expensive AF-15 7.0 that is sold in the last 4 years or so. The previous CGC 7.0 was around 115,000, and the previous CGC 7.5 was like 144,000. So this one outperforming that. Guys, I want to kind of, before we continue to unpack the story and talk about the big mads that we all saw across the comment sections, what was your initial reaction to this? And maybe more importantly, why do you think that this sale got this figure? Is this a result of the times that we're in, where it's a collectible bull market? Is this feeling the tailwind of Spider-Man Brand New Day? Or is there some other factor going on? Let me kick it out to you guys. What did you guys think about the sale?
Do you want to speak in the darkness first?
Speak in the darkness, Neo. Wow.
I'll make this as creepy as I possibly can. I think it was a combination of the movie, the release timing of the movie, a little bit of Golden, a little bit of Rich Dude, a little bit of it was a really nice copy, and you kind of throw all that into a vat, and I think this is kind of what you get.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say I was very surprised by the number, especially given, I mean, so Golden did have the big Superman 1 sale, and so where that really outperformed a CGC book. So it does seem like, I think I talked about this on a video I did. It's just, and we've said this, we've got card collectors that seem to largely go to Golden, and they see PSA as the premium. And if you've got someone who's a more of a card collector, kind of getting into comics, and from looking at, the person who bought this, we know they commented on that post, so they've posted about it. They do seem to be more into cards than comics. And so maybe they see PSA as the premium brand on the card side, and they transfer that to the comic side. It's hard to say for sure. I mean, I've commented on this, that I do think that it's probably not a repeatable sale, and that it could be like, as long as you're not planning on selling it right away, it's like, who cares? Like if you're not thinking that you've got to flip this thing right away, or you have a need to move it right away, it really doesn't matter that much I don't think in the long term, especially like we've seen. It does seem like comics are turning up. And so you have the potential that, I mean, this could become a good buy at some point, in the future, because AF-15s, if you look at them long term, they do just go up over time. Yeah, I mean, they really are. They are the best book of the Silver Age if you want to collect like a blue chip key, something like that. But I mean, I do feel like it was a pretty big overpay. But I mean, I can't be too upset about it, like it doesn't hurt me in any way, so it doesn't really bother me. But yeah, I wouldn't have paid that, but I mean, they're happy with it. I'm sure the seller is happy. So, hey, I mean, no loss there.
Yeah. What about you, Manu? I mean, as far as like all the factors playing into the sale, some of the discourse after it, what was just your overall impression of this one?
I'd like to start by saying I was not one of the that was counting that book out. I kept my mouth shut when those conversations were happening. I was optimistic about it. Where my my loyalties lie. And so in any case, no, I was hoping that all of the things that you had said about Golden, and about perhaps this idea that the audience at Golden is a unique one, different from the audience that might be on Heritage, or the audience that might be knee deep in comic books historically. And so I was optimistic that it was going to have a sale that rivaled CGC. To be completely honest, if it did a 105 to a 120, or let's say 105 to a 115, I would have been like, fantastic. You can't really be mad at that. That's what the last CGC sold for. And for it to outperform it was definitely a surprise, but a pleasant one. I absolutely welcome it. And I do think all of those factors that you guys have mentioned were part of it. But in addition to that, someone in the comments said, didn't it happen before the movie? No, it happened after the movie. Like the success of the movie was already pretty apparent, and people were clamoring for Spider-Man stuff. But I want to speak a little bit about the fact that auction was coordinated and arranged by Justin Spidey Hits, who, the AF-15 belonged to him as well. And he had the foresight, even prior. The reason that auction was put together, and I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, I don't think he will. he felt something was happening, the energies in the market. He was paying attention to certain Spider-Man cards, and they were outperforming previous years, and some seemed a little nuts, you know, and it was like, well, if you're going to strike, you got to strike now. And then obviously the movie was coming, and he was planning this months in advance. And then the scenario with the AF-15 materialized, and he said, oh my gosh, I'm already, you know, having these thoughts about putting together this massive auction. It's not as though everything in the auction belonged to him, but a good amount of the stuff did. And then the AF-15 happened. Of course, he went from raw to grade, and he had a lot of things to consider when deciding who to grade the book with, so on and so forth. And we know ultimately it landed with PSA. And once that happened, once his auction was sort of arranged with Ken Golden, and there were some other high dollar items that were bound to get a lot of attention, the two flagship items being this AF-15, the highest grade from PSA, and that 2017 or 2016, sorry, forgive me, PMG guys, you know, the Gold Spidey 1/1 PMG, that was sure to be a big hit, or at least bring a lot of attention to the auction. It was like this perfect storm. And then if you take a look at the social media content surrounding that AF-15, it did so wonderfully because Justin told a very passionate, very emotional story about getting the book, grading the book, and how he feels about the book. And those reels, they traveled far and wide. They did big numbers, you know, and these things were cross-promoted on the PSA Cards Instagram page, PSA Comics, as well as Justin's. And so you had all of that coming together, the movie hype, the market being on fire, the fact that Golden has this uniquely enthusiastic buyer, and perhaps more PSA supporters on Golden, given, you know, Golden's history with PSA and sports cards and so on and so forth. And then the movie, the success of the movie. And so you had all of these eyeballs, all this content, all of this sort of positivity driving it. And then ultimately, it, you know, Kobe, the buyer, forget the buyer's name, shout out to him. Kobe, I forget his name, but shout out to him. He's not the only one. It's not like he bought it now at 150. Some other people were bidding this thing up as well. There was a bit of a battle at the end there. So I think all of those things came together, and I think Kobe is probably an example of, not to pigeonhole him or even pretend to know who he is. I didn't know his name until he bought this book because he was all over the place saying, I bought it, it's my purchase, you know, so on and so forth, enthusiastic. But he may be one of those sorts of buyers, right? That's influenced by pop culture in general, perhaps not rooted in comic books historically. Again, speculating, he can correct me, clear this up. I don't know him, and I don't want to offend him with anything inaccurate. But it could be all of those things that had come together. And shout out and congratulations to Justin, because I jokingly said the other day to a friend on the phone, there hasn't been a better rollout than 50 Cent's Get Rich or Die Trying, when both Eminem and Dr. Dre and Aftermath and, you know, Jimmy Iovine and everybody endorsed him after getting shot 9 times, surviving, and then looking like a tank, and just having the media completely pushing him. There hasn't been a better rollout. I guess it was destined to succeed, but it certainly did. So shout out to Justin, shout out to that AF-15, and congratulations to PSA.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It still is only just one sale. And I do want to touch a little bit more on some of the card stuff that you mentioned, Manu. But sticking to this particular AF-15, you know, I made this post over on my Instagram that just kind of highlighted some of the differences of the recent sales. Obviously, with the AF-15 getting a 30% premium on the recent CGC copy, which the CGC copy sold back in May. I did see some people in the comments that got big mad, and they were saying like, "Oh, that was 4 months ago. You know, that's a totally a different market." But you know, it does kind of show that even though it's selling for above the 7.5 price, you know, that's a really impressive number. Not just beating like 115, not just selling at like 120 or 125, but actually going up to that 149 number that catapults it. I guess, you know, I say all that to say, you know, I know it's just one sale, but if you're somebody like CGC, do you think that this particular auction, you know, perked your ear up a little bit? Like, do you feel like this is something that they're like, whatever, no big deal? Or does it give them a little bit of concern that a PSA
Absolutely.
book can perform this well? And then on top of that, as like a audience viewer, or say a comic collector who, I'm going to speculate, but like a lot of people in those comments that were big mad, I assume are people that, you know, have more of an affinity to CGC, which understandably, I think most comic collectors are going to have an affinity to CGC because most of your, you know, say, call it portfolio or whatever you want to, you know, whatever term you want to say, is in CGC slabs. So it doesn't like help you for another company to start overtaking values or at least being comparable. Anyways, that's sort of a long-winded setup, but my questions to you guys, and we can have this conversation, is do you think CGC noticed? Do you think that they're concerned at all? And then does it change perception for collectors at all? Or is this, again, just one-off, one sale, easily dismissed?
Who's going?
I mean, my thought would be, I'm sure they talked about it. Like, there's no way they didn't
100%.
talk about it. You'd be irresponsible as a company to not pay attention to your only competitor. But do I think it's a concern to them? No. When you're talking about volumes that these companies deal in, like, I do not think that this is something that they're concerned about. Will they maybe, I don't know, maybe try to do some more advertising or something like that? I don't think it is really a big concern to them. Now, we know on the card side, CGC has been posting some social media content, you know, kind of going after PSA. So they pay attention to each other, you know, like they need to, I mean, that's what you do. Like you're a multi-million-dollar, hundreds of million-dollar business. Like, this stuff matters. The big books matter because you make a lot of money off grading one of those books versus, you know, 100 moderns. So it definitely is something that they'll think about, but I just don't think it's going to be that big of a concern at this point, just because the vast majority of the books that get graded still do sell for more, and quite a bit more from what we've seen with the X-Men 94, a Giant Size X-Men 1, more fun. I mean, it's like all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, it will be interesting to see what the next CGC AF15, you know, maybe that's up around that grade point, sells for, to see if it does bump up as well. I don't know if it,
right now.
I don't know if it will, though, just because, like, I mean, yeah, that AF15 was nice. It was a really nice presenting book. Its main flaws were on the back. You know, it had the writing on the back and had a light crease in the bottom corner that you couldn't really see because of the buildings. And so, and it didn't have any of the Marvel chipping, like I think Neo said. And so, yeah, it was a very nice presenting book, and that did a lot for it. But I still think it was a very strong sale for that.
Very. Neo?
I'd like to point out before I let the other guys go, we will be talking about the next AF15 7.0 that is actually going to be coming up for sale, you know, in the next some months or so. Maybe we can have that conversation of like what we think that'll do. But it is also important to point out that at the Golden Auction, there was an ASM 1 that was in a CGC 5.5 or something like that. And that one sold at a premium compared to the previous like grade CGC book. So I'm implying there that like maybe the factor is more that, hey, it's just brand new day hype. It's just that time, you know, values are turning around, and this was just the perfect month to sell it because a CGC book improved upon its previous CGC sale. But anyways, Manu, Rob, do you have any thoughts about CGC is concerned, if they are concerned, or also how collectors now view a sale like this?
I do, but Neo, can you take it away?
I just like being creepy as possible. I agree with what
it's
Ryan
like
said.
You're like the Power Rangers. Like, what's his name? Is it Zordon?
Yeah,
what's the guy?
Yeah, Zordon here. We got a Halloween episode.
But it's somebody said that in there. Great.
Yeah, which I actually think my power just kicked back on, so I might be able to get back to the normal setup.
Nice.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much what Ryan said. I mean, each side is going to twist this however they want. Like the PSA slider shills are just going to be like, "Oh my God, this is the greatest day ever in our lives." And the anti-PSA people are going to be like, "Oh, it was just shield. PSA bought it, yada, yada, yada." So each side's going to twist it to their own narrative on this book. It is a win, though, it gives PSA something to point at and say, like we have our tentpole sale now. Like, I know they had the Superman 1, but I think this is way more meaningful than that.
Maybe they pointed a little too soon because their first post was that the highest price ever paid. And they were like, wait, that's not even close to being true. And they had to redo
highest
that
price ever paid
yeah.
for a PSA 7.
Yeah, true. Where's the lie? Where's the lie?
There's the spin. Yeah.
No lies detected.
Yeah.
I do have a question, and maybe this will be for when we kind of wrap this conversation up, but maybe you could throw this in towards the end, Swag. Would you rather have this PSA 7 AF15 or the PSA 966 Donruss? Because they're probably going to sell for similar prices.
That's a great question, man. I mean, I would rather have the AF-15 from an emotional level, but at the same time, like from as far as like what do I think is actually going to get me more money upon the next sale? Like maybe the Donruss card is going to actually outperform.
That's very ballsy, bro. That's the same as buying something at the peak, like while it's spiking. You're saying you're selecting the spiking one versus the one that has a foundation of value somewhere in between. It's listen, where it might land.
Listen, I know that SpaceX evaluation is ridiculous, but space is infinite. Like cards is infinity, that's how I think. No, I'm just kidding. I like the AF-15 would be the one that if you twisted my arm, of course I would pick the AF-15.
To me, I don't even think it's a question. I would take the AF-15 without even thinking about it. Even if
I was just trying to entertain.
I was trying to
entertain the hypothetical.
I would rather have the AF-15.
Yeah. What's the last thing you said, Neo? Even if what?
I said even if the PSA 9 goes for like 200,000 or something crazy, I would still rather have the AF-15.
I would assume the PSA 9 sale would be harder to duplicate than something near the value that the AF-15 went for. Like even if that AF-15 doesn't do 150 again, but let's say you get a 95 or a 105 out of it, right? It feels like there's like $100,000 baseline, perhaps, right? But what's the baseline for the PSA 9 Donruss card, given that this is the first time it's ever sold in any large number, because it hasn't come to market in forever. And the last time it came to market, it was for pennies. I think the auction site, 4 Sharp Corners, that's consigned it, or that it's consigned with, that's selling it on eBay, they have a reel floating around where they said that the last time a PSA 9 sold for that card, it was like $21 or $29. So essentially, it has never sold with any value, and now here it is.
Still more expensive than it should be.
and now here it is at the price that it is. But like if you take a look at where's its what's that thing, where's its floor, where's its resistance level, what's the number that if they start to come out, the 10 of them that exist, and they go down from here, where does a buyer say, oh, I'm absolutely not going to let it go lower than this price? But with the AF-15, you could kind of have some sort of understanding of where you're safe, right? And so from that perspective, but all things being equal, if it's not costing you anything, you're just going to pick one of them. Yeah, for fun, maybe you pick the Donruss card and try to sell it as soon as you can, or something like that. But in any case, that was a fun question. I do want to say that for me personally, I absolutely think that, it's not, I think it's absolutely CGC took notice. Now, are they concerned? I mean, there are degrees to that. So it's not like, so to some degree, I think Ryan agrees. To some degree, sure, I think they're concerned. Well, maybe more than sure from my perspective. I think yes, because I think it made a lot of noise. There was a lot of attention. Listen, when you go into the comments section, there's a lot of people that are talking bad about the sale. They're talking bad about the value of it. Like Ryan says, it's an overpay. And a lot of people were saying that same sort of thing. But a lot of people are saying a lot of things. That's the attention. That's the idea behind a headline. It's getting a lot. It's taking a lot of notice. And for people that aren't comic book grading, and this is their first time hearing about a big number in an AF-15 at PSA, well, they like that. They like the sound of that. It's having an effect on them. CGC, anytime PSA does anything bad, CGC makes those little sarcastic posts, those all text posts on their page. So saying when PSA does something stellar, CGC has to figure out a way to counteract that. And I think it might be maybe a strong marketing push for this 7-0 that's coming up at Heritage next month, which you said we're going to pull up. So I look forward to winning the show. We pull it up. I want to take a look at that copy. But if I'm CGC, I'm absolutely taking notice. I'm a little pissed, and I'm going to figure it out. There's some CGC employees that are running around social media. I think this is in poor taste. And they put likes on all the comments bashing PSA. I just think that's really corny, but that's the culture of CGC. Those are the employees working at CGC doing that. So that is CGC doing that. And that is how they feel in that building, or else they wouldn't be reacting emotionally. So 100% they're taking notice, 100% it bothers them, and they're going to do something about it, because whether they're losing market share to it or not, they're losing future clients to it, because people that haven't decided where to go may go to PSA just because they already like PSA, they like buying on Golden, and this is a nice comp for them to point at a sports card show where no one cares what the CGC comps are because they haven't been paying attention anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, and one comment I have on that, just from, this was my experience when because the way I see this is a lot of times, like we said, like maybe it's somebody who's newer into comics that's coming over from cards, that kind of thing. when I first got into buying graded Pokemon cards, I based my decision on what the slab that I liked the most, and I liked the look of the Beckett slabs the most. I felt they were more sturdy. I liked the labels a lot more. And when I had those cards, I bought some vintage Pokemon cards, had them in my PC for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, something like that. And I finally decided to sell them during this recent, hype stream that we've had with Pokemon. And I really regretted buying those Beckett slabs. so that's what I want to say. Like, I wish I had bought PSA. Like, after that, every single card I bought has been PSA, and so, because like when you try to sell it, maybe, you got the excitement on Golden and all this stuff when you bought it. But when you try to sell it, you're selling it to comic collectors. And the vast majority of comic collectors, no matter what you want to say, do not like PSA slabs. And so you're going to have a harder time selling it. You will. Maybe you can set up a deal with Golden and have it sold there again or something, and hope you get the same hype on it. But you're going to have a harder time. I can guarantee it. And so that's the risk to me that you take, especially paying a big premium. That's why, like when we talked about before, I was saying, like, you kind of want to buy it at a discount, because you're probably going to be selling it at a discount if you ever need to sell it. Now, I know somebody in the comments said that person was maybe offered 200,000 already. I don't know if that's true or not.
I didn't hear about that. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that is going to be what you will likely deal with, at least for any foreseeable future, where the vast majority of people that buy slabs on the comic side have CGC graded books in their collection. So and they tend to buy books that match.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm going to point this out, not to say anything negative about our commenter here and our viewer. I appreciate you. Thank you. But just personally, this is feels like someone that's missing the point, or the comment just feels a little like it missed the point, right? And it's always funny when someone says LOL, all caps, but it says LOL, CGC is not worried about one comic sale. And I think that's missing the point. It's not the one comic sale. It's the attention. It's the conversation. Every little thing chips away at the market. And from a business perspective, I guarantee you CGC is not ignoring that, or else they would be completely stupid. And as much as they're incompetent sometimes, I don't think they're entirely stupid. I think they're sometimes stupid, but they're not stupid enough to ignore the fact that there are plenty of people that heard about that sale, and it does have an effect. And that's it. So just to simply say CGC is not worried about one comic sale. Yeah, that may be true in a different scenario, but this is a bit different because this got publicized really nicely.
It's fair. And I want to, we could take, we're never going to know what CGC actually thinks. I think that, of course, they pay attention. I think PSA pay attention. They have to. They would be irresponsible if they weren't paying attention to the other companies. The one thing I want to hear you guys talk on, and maybe everyone who's watching in the chat can also weigh in on this. Actually, I'd love to hear this. But I'm not saying that this is the case, but I wonder if this changes some perception from a collector standpoint of what your path might do with certain books. And let me see if I can kind of lay this foundation and paint a profile. I feel like this being, the Spider-Man collectibles sale that, Justin put together here, and we had the AF-15 that just sold, that was coupled with a bunch of other sports cards that were in there and things of that nature. You're starting to see a certain type of profile of person that would be willing to buy a PSA slab. I mean, Manu, you mentioned the guy who bought the PSA AF-15. You kind of look at his Instagram, you're like, oh, I got a sense of who this guy is. Maybe he's into Pokemon, maybe he's got some graded video games, things of that nature. So I'm wondering if there are just certain comics that might make you pause before I send this into CGC. Maybe I do want to go the PSA golden auctions route. And books like that come to mind are things like, well, maybe if I had a Venom Lethal Protector #1 Black Error variant, maybe I could go CGC and sell this traditionally. Or maybe that's the type of book that's, hey, you get the PSA 10 on that, and then you put it to Golden and you're selling it to that person. Or maybe I have a Viz Comics #1. That's like the Pokemon comic book that's really expensive. Do I want to actually send to PSA and try to get the 10 if I had the best copy ever versus getting a CGC 9.9? And going that pipeline, or other comics that you can think of. I mean, Manu, I would even say a Malibu Sun 13, or other interesting comics that I feel like are in that ilk, like the Valiant Super Mario Brothers one, or maybe you have I don't know, X-Men 266. We talked about the one that sold on Collectors Comics. Like certain books, I feel like maybe, are of a certain audience that maybe this changes the perception. Anyways, does what I say make sense there?
Yeah,
as I kind of lay it out.
It makes sense, and I want to. We were having those kinds of conversations, those kind of thoughts, and speculating on what might be happening at Golden with the PSA audience prior to this sale. So obviously this sale makes that conversation more relevant, right? Justin is not an unintelligent person. He obviously had to make a decision, made a decision, and now he was proven very right to make that decision. So why would we ignore what just happened in front of us? We can speculate as to how, what was the buyer thinking, who were the other bidders, but the proof is in the pudding. Justin was right. Justin was right to the tune of $35,000 higher than the last CGC sale. Who's going to ignore that? It's irresponsible to ignore that. Anyone can sit back and say, CGC doesn't care about the sale. I'm going with CGC. If you're not smart, you're not going to think about it. But if you're smart, you got a decision to make. And that doesn't mean you're going to go with PSA. But the fact is that conversation has to happen either internally or with your friends or whomever you're going to auction it with. You have a raw book. You're thinking about this. And if you're not thinking about this, fine. But intelligent people are going to weigh their options. And that is now a more relevant conversation than it was prior to this sale. That's all I'm saying. You can't ignore that. You can't avoid that. Is it replicatable? Who knows? We're going to see. Comics are fun that way. They go up and down. We get to have fun with it. It's not our book. It's not our money. It's no sweat off our back what happens. But we are going to see the CGC book come to market. I personally hope both grading companies win. That's how I felt from the very beginning, because they're both, worth something. And I hope the CGC book matches this sale. I hope it just raises the prices of 7.0 AF-15s in general. That's my take on it. Optimistic about the sale, optimistic about what the sale is going to mean. How is that a bad thing? I can't figure out how it's a bad thing.
What do you think about that, Ryan? Like, I know you still probably wouldn't, and just for transparency purposes, I still might submit certain high grade books that I have to CGC, but could you imagine a scenario where like you're sitting on what you think is a 9/9/10 of a ASM 300? Are you now at least a little bit curious of what if I did go the PSA route here and then put it on Golden? Or not at all?
I don't think so, because I don't have the pull to get an auction built around my content. It's like I end up, sure. It's me then having my book just out there and it does what it does. And I still think that is going to significantly underperform, like we've seen over and over and over and over again with PSA books leading up into this. I think that plays a big role in this as well. And when I'm generally sending stuff in, I'm sending in a whole bunch of stuff at once. And I'd be playing the numbers game. Like maybe there is one book in there that it would happen to sell for more in a PSA slab. But if I'm grading 70 books or 100 books, I'm just send them all to CGC, because I think on average, those books are going to sell for more with them than they're going to sell for with PSA. Now, yeah, if you have some, like I said, if you have some massive book that an auction house is going to build their sale around and they're going to promote it and all this kind of stuff, it's a different story. But that's not 99.999% of the collectors out there that have that capability.
Makes sense.
That's fair.
Rob, it's good to see that you got some power back.
Let there be light.
Yes. Outside of the basement, back into the other basement, the collectible room. Rob, I don't know if you heard what we were talking here, but I was just asking the guys, like, does the sale change in your mind anything from maybe a collector behavior, where if you have a book and you kind of can imagine maybe a certain demographic that wants the PSA slabs, maybe buys at Golden, are you now maybe slightly more inclined to send to PSA and go that route than, say, a traditional CGC path?
I think it was Manu that said this. I think if you have something like that at minimum now, you're at least like, some people will at least pause and like have the internal conversation with themselves. It's probably still going to end up going to CGC. We need a bigger sample size on, can PSA rival with CGC on the high end? And I wonder if this is a case where on the ultra high end, if PSA is going to sell a little closer to CGC versus something like, you know,
is that your,
X-Men
like,
266 and a CGC
your
98.
fiance in the comments or something?
It's not.
What?
Okay.
Love you.
We got fans. We got fans out there. I got fans out
Oh,
there.
okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wonder if this is a case where after we see some more sales, if PSA stuff sells closer to CGC on the ultra high end versus on like the sub $2,000 stuff.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see either way. Again, it is just one sale. We have more AF-15s to come. In fact, we actually have another AF-15 in a PSA slab that is up for sale again. That'll be another way for us to kind of check, okay, how are the prices comparing? Manu, go ahead.
Before we leave this, I want to say I did make a mistake. And the mistake was I had an opportunity to send things to that auction, and I didn't. But what I should have sent was my AF-15. The PSA 10 facsimile with no barcode, because on Golden, this damn thing would have sold for thousands and thousands of dollars, just like everything else in that auction.
It's a $100,000 book all day.
$100,000. I should have sent this. I mean, there are things in that. This is worth saying. Everything in that auction did extremely well. Like, what a great auction, right? So, yeah, I should have sent this PSA 10, AF-15 facsimile. If you wanted, hit me up, but I should have sent this to that because I think it would have done well.
Well, it's very interesting because, you know, you kind of set that up nicely that, you know, at this auction, once again, you know, that was organized as a sort of Spider-Man collectible sale, you know, one of the premier books being the AF-15, like we already discussed, seemingly did extremely well. We had some precious metal gems that sold, you know, the 2017 here, one of 100 getting 2,800. This particular metal selling for 23,000. A 2013 card, to put it into perspective, a PSA 8, which this is a PSA 7. One of the more recent sales for a PSA 8 sold for like $8,000, $9,000. So this getting twice as much, you know, in recent months. Again, it could still be, this is where we are in the market. We've entered this kind of bull cycle, but seemingly all of the items in this auction did very well. Unless, of course, you want to talk about one item that was in this auction but didn't end up selling, which kind of leads us to our next story related to this one. But one of the premier items in this auction was the 2017 Flare Ultra Spider-Man Gold 1-of-1 card. Now, I'm going to allow Manu later on to kind of set up maybe some of the more significance about this card, but this card was highly touted. It was right there next to the AF-15 as being one of the premier flagship items in this auction. And pre-bids, people were talking about maybe this is a six-figure card. This looks like, you know, maybe 100,000, something like that. In our last show, we were even talking about, hey, what do you guys think is going to outsell the other, the AF-15 or this particular card? Well, this one ended up not selling because 24 hours before the auction, that old reserve bid came in, and we've had many conversations about the old sneaky reserve bid. But as you guys can see, this card was actually bid up to $341,600. But the reserve not met little footnote came in with 24 hours left. So very interesting that there was a sneaky reserve on this. We can have the conversation about reserve bids and how they feel bad, and, you know, we can revisit that story. But also, how crazy is it that this card got up to 341 and that was not the reserve? Somebody who had this card felt that it was at least worth, I mean, at least the reserve maybe was 350 or much higher, who knows, $1 million. I mean, Manu, I feel like I got to throw it over to you to kick us off on this conversation here, but tell me about this card, the reserve. Like, someone bid 341 and the seller was not happy with that. What are we doing here?
I know it's actually really crazy, and this is going to be one of those situations where, like, people are gonna be pissed off at me because I'm there.
Hey, this is the ungraded truth.
I know.
This is the ungraded truth here.
I know that you know, the card during the pandemic, Justin Spidey Hits. Shout out. He owned that card. Someone offered it to him. He purchased it, and the market was going crazy. And, you know, everyone was clamoring for PMGs. PMGs, I'm not a big PMG guy. I know a bit about it, and Neo can add some more information where I don't have it or where I get it wrong. But 2013 was the first year that Marvel cards had a PMG insert, and it's a very popular set. A red out of 100 set just sold on Heritage the other day, did some good numbers. But and then this particular one of one, Justin sold for 6 figures during the pandemic, but he maintained some ownership in it. And the establishment or the person, I do know the person, I don't know how to refer to him. Let's just say the person that bought the card had big hopes for it, you know, and when the market picked up, they decided to put this card at auction. Now, I do know a bit more about it than I'm really like responsibly able to talk about because I didn't get permission, but I did enjoy having my conversations about the card. But I was also surprised, you know, that a reserve was put on it and a reserve was put on as high as it was. I would assume anyone would be happy getting this kind of money after making, let's just call it $100,000 investment a few years ago. But the owner of the card feels strongly that it's worth quite a bit more. And even during the pandemic, you know, like people like, what's his name? Jeff Wilson. Yeah, shout out Jeff. Jeff ran into Justin at a card show. It might have been the National. And
it was Atlanta.
It was Atlanta?
Yeah, I was at that show.
Yeah, and you know, Jeff did a little segment with Justin, grabbed the card and said something about it being potentially worth $1 million or even $2 million or something like that. And that made a lot of noise, you know, but that's kind of, I'd imagine how the owner of the card does feel about it. Now, I'm not saying the reserve was $1 million, but obviously the reserve was higher than this. What was the hammer? 280 and it went to 341. Now, some interesting conversations were presented to me after this, and these are conversations that don't have to do with this card, they don't have to do with this auction, but this idea, this thing, when it says reserve not met, it didn't say that the entire auction. That actually popped up 24 hours before the end of the auction, and people began to ask, like, was this reserve added later? Like, what is this? Is this some funny business? But no, Ken actually cleared it up that, I mean, not publicly, but to people that were questioning Ken about it, that's apparently how they do it. When an item has a reserve, typically they don't announce the reserve until 24 hours up to the sale, unless, of course, the reserve is met, maybe, or maybe then it says reserve met.
I feel like Comic Link is somewhat similar. Theirs is maybe a week out, or if it's a few days. It's not always visible, though.
Okay, and
similar situation.
Okay, and just you know, just to be fair, some of the things that were said to me is like, yo, this could really be an easy way to manipulate. And again, I'm not saying that this would happen, but I like these kinds of conversations. So I'm not going to pull back just because I know the owners of the card and stuff. You know, the card's going to do well regardless. But it brought up this interesting sort of thought experiment of like, wow, you could really manipulate or change the perception of a value for any item if you have the only one. It has to be a one of one. They can't be comps, you know, and you have to be able to have like the speculative sort of assumed value and the ability to convince that that's a justified value. But you can bring something to auction as long as the auction house agrees to have the reserve in place, set a high reserve, and then, you know, really shadily and not ethically, you can have your friends or shell accounts bid up the card or any item to a value below the reserve because you're privy to the reserve. So there's actually no risk of you getting caught with your hand in the cookie jar. You're not going to buy it. And the reserve's not going to get met. And then it's going to, you know, be like it's this card here. But you get this public conversation started about how, oh, it got to this value. Maybe that's the value. And then you have the ability to kind of point to that and sell the card privately, maybe, right? But then as that conversation was worth me exploring and I started to speak to people close to auction houses and stuff, it was funny because they were like, yeah, that could be done, but there's actually a smarter way to screw people over. Here's how I would do it if I were actually doing that. And then they laid that out for me. And I was like, oh shit, you're right. This is the lazy way to manipulate the market, but there's actually another way to do it as well. It's fucking, so, pardon me, I got to stop cursing, but it is wild what you can do and what the reserves get people to think about. Is that what happened here? Listen, I can tell you it's not. And then you'll be like, you don't fucking know, you know, just because your friends say something, whatever. I have no idea. And I'll just say that. But do I think that's what happened here? No. But do I think that's the kind of thing that does happen? Yeah, I think it happens. Like,
I mean, we talked about that We talked about that on another show where we talked about different auction houses, and depending on the state that they're located in, what they're allowed to do. And there were some that they can just, the auction house itself can bid up to that reserve price. And there's nothing you can do about it, or you won't know.
Dude, see, this is the conversation that's so fun to me, because it's that kind of playground. It's not regulated. There's all kinds of stuff you can do to fabricate values or attempt to get someone to bid a certain price. Man, at the end of the day, it goes just like when we're going to talk about the Donruss cards and the Donruss card sales. Like, you got to be careful. Things get exciting, things get expensive, but no one really has a clue about everything that's taking place behind the scenes. You got to think about it really, really carefully. You got to be critical about it. You got to be, suspicious of things. It's in your interest to do so. You just got to be careful. This is not a market where anyone's got your back. Someone's trying to take your money, period.
I want to hear Ryan and Rob talk more about this. Shout out to Ozzy in the chat who said, how do you value a card like that? And to me, assuming that, an auction house has to be willing to go along with it. I assume that you can't just ask them to put like $1 million reserve bid on my Darkhawk 1. Like, they'll just, laugh at me and say, absolutely not. But if I want, if I have a card, like you said, Manu, it's one of one, or there's an item that is like clearly valuable, and there's no way to know, like, I can just consign it and get free price discovery. I can just crowdsource. Like, I can put like a $10 million reserve bid on it and be like, well, oh, cool. Now I know that my item's worth $341K. Like, is that what's going on here? I mean, Rob, Ryan?
An auction house is in the business to make money, right? Like, they want their cut of the sale. And so putting a reserve that's too high on it is not in their best interest. And so I feel like you're only going to be able to do that, one, if you have something very significant, and if there's concern about the fact that maybe the market isn't there to get it to where it needs to be in that auction. And so I do think it's probably not the easiest to get auction houses to go along with especially high reserves. I think most auction houses, like I said, just don't want to have them anyway. And I know, I remember when I bought my, it was on eBay, I bought my Startling 49. The first one I bought, I had talked to the seller, and he said it was a consignment, and he had a reserve on it, basically like a low of the bid that you had to bid first to get up, to get started. And he said he wished that he tried to talk the seller out of having it because he thinks it scares people off from bidding, and it would have actually gone for more if you didn't have it. And so there's also that, like, once people see that reserve, I think it can also kind of piss people off, and they just go, I don't even want to bid now. And so you may actually get a lower number than what it is really worth because people see that reserve text underneath the listing. I could see that happening too.
I think you're right. And I think that's how they talk about it. And they try to like dissuade clients from setting a reserve because of the psychology around it.
But that's why the auction house is probably only add the reserve at the last second.
That makes a lot of sense. Don't scare them away too early. Once they're already invested, then
get them emotionally invested. They just get a little skin in the game. I put $1 already. I might as well go up to 1 million. Why not?
The whole thing's a shenanigan. But I will say, in auction houses do not want you to have a reserve, period, because of the psychology, and they can be convinced to give you a reserve, especially if you have something that is a big deal, because you can just tell them reserve or you don't get my item, and then they're just going to be like, all right, fine, here's the contract and the reserves in it. That's it. If you got a nothing burger, they're not going to give you a reserve. It's a waste of everyone's time.
I don't know, Neil, you got any thoughts on reserve bidding, defensive bidding here?
I think it's, with this card in particular, my guess is kind of what Manu just said was, hey, we need a feature item, and we're basically building the auction around that card and the comic book. I think more so the card, and then the comic book came around a little bit later. So it was probably a case of, all right, what do we have to do to get you to throw this in this auction? So if you want to put a $500,000 reserve on it or something crazy, then we would advise against it or whatever. But because we need the card to carry the auction to get us eyeballs, it's basically like I don't want to say like a marketing expense, because it's really not costing Golden much to do it. I mean, I guess they probably spent some time like marketing the card. So for it not to sell, they don't get return on investment on that, but it probably helped buoy the entire auction.
Yeah.
So they get some value out of it. But, you know, like Ryan said, like auction houses want to make money. Their goal is to sell the item and get their cut. So they're not big on reserves, but if you have an item that has weight, you, like Manu said, you have a little bit of, you know, you get a little weight, you could swing around and say, well, you're not getting it if I don't get what I want. If it doesn't sell, it doesn't sell. Cool. I think the price on this card, there's some weird stuff going on right now in Marvel cards specifically. And we actually talked about this on one of the episodes where, and I'm seeing this in a lot of like Marvel collector groups and stuff of people being like, what is happening? Because some top stuff that, in my opinion, is not as good as some of the upper deck cards are like drastically outperforming the upper deck cards right now because of, I think when we talked about it before, it was, you know, the Fanatics marketing machine and the Breaker marketing machine is really pushing the Topps product. So it's getting a lot of buzz, and the older stuff is not. There was a sale the other day, and I don't remember. It might have been the red PMG in this auction sold for like, what did it sell for? Just under 3K or something, I think.
Oh, yeah. Somebody said in the chat, then the eBay sale, which I'll,
there was I should see if I can find it on IG and have you screen share it. There was a Spider-Man out of Topps Chrome Sapphire, just a base card in a PSA 10 that's like pop 200 that sold for the same price. And it's like, you would much rather have the red PMG than like a random Sapphire PSA 10. Like, it doesn't even make any sense. And it sold for the same amount of money, basically just because of, you know, it's proving the point that the Fanatics marketing machine is quote unquote working, because it is driving numbers to those cards. And for the longest time, the 101 PMG really didn't have a lot of competition. And now all of a sudden you have like top superfractors coming out 101s. I have it pulled up if you want to share that real quick, Swag. You know, there is a little bit of weird competition for this card. It's not necessarily direct. It's not a PMG 101, but there are like multiple Spider-Man 101s out of every set that comes out now from Topps. And I wouldn't be surprised if a Spider-Man Superfractor came for auction and actually went for a bigger number than what that 101 PMG did not sell for at 340,000 or whatever it was. But like, if you look at this, if you're a Marvel card collector, you're like, what in the hell is actually happening right now? Like, this card is way better than this, just literally just a Sapphire. Like, Sapphire is one of their niche premier products, but it's just a base card. It's not numbered. It's not a parallel. It's literally just a Sapphire PSA 10 pop 199 or something. Like, this card should never sell for more than a red PMG, in my opinion, especially a 2017 one. Like, it's crazy that this is even like this, but it just goes to show you the power of the Fanatics marketing machine. Like, this is happening all the time now, where this top stuff, I mean, we talked about it with some of those like slash cards with the Wolverine claw marks through it and stuff selling for huge amounts of money. And in my opinion, there's upper deck stuff that looks way better and is way more rare that is selling for less.
That's one of the things that's always a little tough for me with some of this, because like for me with comics, especially with Golden Age, because a lot of times you're buying covers instead of buying keys because the keys are just so exorbitantly expensive. I am so focused on buying something that I like the appearance of, that plays a big role to me. And that metal card is ugly. Like, I saw somebody in the comments say, like, it is not good art. And so
a lot of the PMGs are ugly.
and the same with the Spider-Man rookie. That is not, and I get it, it's like it's quirky in a way, but it is an ugly card.
Hey, we got to go back. We got to get back to.
So I struggle a little bit with that. When I see these things, I'm just like, I don't even know. Like, that's cool. I like that card, you know. And it's that Sapphire that was shown was much better looking than the.
See, I don't think that card looks that good.
I know rarity plays a role, but at some point I'm just like, this thing just doesn't look good Why am I spending $100,000 on it?
Hey, you know what? Listen, to the tune of the title of today's episode, we are in the great collectible bull market right now. And, whatever the value of a thing is, aesthetics be damned. It's just like this. Everybody says this thing is worth, $3,000. It's worth $3,000. That's just
I want to see the Cheetos art come up again.
So I mean, that would be awesome.
What's that going to sell for?
On the PMG thing, just to add some more context to that card, I was curious about this, but I suppose this is a fact. One of the reasons that 2017, and Neil, correct me if I'm wrong, is so important is because 2013. It's funny that I use the word important there because I'm not a PMG guy, but like it matters to PMG collectors and marble card collectors of that era, is because 2013 did not have one of ones, right? Like 2017's one of ones is the first one of one PMG. Okay,
yes, that's accurate.
Well, either way, it is pretty crazy to see. We're going to have more conversations about PMGs coming up. Of course, we're going to talk more Marvel cards, later on in the show when we get into our Donruss segment. But we got to switch gears here, and we got to give a shout out to the first sponsor of tonight's stream, which is, of course, Elite Comics 11. Let me set this up properly, guys. Get the banner running. But Elite Comics 11 is the #1 community-powered collectible consignment page on social media. We've talked about Elite so many times. The great platform here, listing comic books every single day. And I got to tell you guys, like I've been going to their page like all of the time, and I just keep checking on books. And I'm telling you, books are flying right now. Which is a testament to them as a selling page, but also a testament again to the title of our show, which we're just in a different market right now. I mean, we are back. It is a collectible bull market. I mean, crazy sales are happening all the time. And I feel like we got to, do a little bit of a, hey, we told you so with that one there. I mean, actually, let me scroll down and kind of pull up the sale right here.
There was that like the platinum, the Spider-Man 1 platinum, like 8.5, like a reasonable priced one. I was upset that I saw that after it had already sold. It sold almost instantly.
Well, it's funny you point that out because I did want to also mention that one as well. But guys, I mean, I feel like Absolute Batman Ashcan foil edition. I mean, instant claim. This thing gets listed like 5K book. Yes, please, I'll take that. I mean, what were we doing not buying all the Ashcans before this madness happened?
But you're supposed to buy before you pump. You did it backwards, Swag.
Yeah, that was our mistake.
Yeah, we messed up. Yeah,
literally the story of my life is to not buy before I pump. Which is crazy. But yeah, Ryan,
you've got those taken care of.
Yeah, you mentioned Ryan. Well, actually, Manu.
Yeah,
I wanted to talk about this. This one already claimed. Again, books are flying.
What was the price? What was the price? Good price.
2K listing. But can you just quickly, and maybe you can rope in what Ryan was talking about with the Platinum Edition one. But can you just, without going past
Walmart exclusive. The newsstand of the gold one is a Walmart exclusive, and there are less of the platinum ones. I think the platinum ones are like a hard number of 7,000 or 5,000. I could be completely wrong. I think there's less of those. Actually, I don't damn know if there's less of those, but I will say there are less of the platinum ones. And the platinum ones also come with like a letter to the retailer. Sometimes you can have the letter in the envelope with it, which is just a cool all-around collectible to have. And it has a different back cover on it, and it's made out of cardstock. It's a phenomenal book. You got to have both of these if you love this thing. But I love this book, Walmart exclusive, and I point this out all the time because it's to me it's cool. That barcode really brings out the white in Spidey's eyes. Like the non-barcoded version does not have that relationship, the standard gold one, and I think that's so cool. I love this book. This is an awesome book. Congrats to whoever claimed it.
Yeah, definitely. I saw this one the other day. I was mad I didn't buy this. There was a Fantastic Four #5 in a 3.0 that was listed at like $3,700. It was like cheaper than like a recent 1.0 sale, which was like crazy. I should have just instantly bought it.
Right past the dork 9.8.
Because it didn't get claimed.
It did.
Listen. It's sold. Hey, listen. We're Dork 988, and shout out to the ungraded truthers out there who watched and made some claims. We definitely appreciate you guys. You got to go over to Elite Comics 11, guys. Link in the description. Go give them a follow. Be watching right now because another book again I missed. I wanted to talk about this. We're going to talk about Mr. Sinister later on today, but I was like already speculating on X Factor 6. and the newsstands of this.
Yeah.
And this was a great price. Someone just swooped this up. Like, I was like, damn, like within an instant.
Yo, there's a PSA 10 AF 15 facsimile up there. How?
I was going to ask, is that yours?
Yeah, how coincidental. Somebody go get that. In fact, I will give you a $50 rebate. Go get that now. Thank you very much.
Oh my God.
That's funny.
Hilarious.
I forgot that got listed. That's funny.
Well, there you guys have it.
I scrolled through real quick, and I was like, "Wait a second! Did the just show that?"
Oh,
I can't imagine there's a lot of them out there.
I think there's only one. There's only one. I don't think there's more than that one.
Well, you're right. I'm just like randomly clicking on books, and almost every single one of them is sold.
Dude, the market is on fire. Swag, we're gonna.
It's not just. It's not just a sponsored segment. I'm just telling you, like. It's been crazy, like here we go. We're going to talk about Mr. Sinister later on, but this one, prices for the 9/8 of the directs have been selling already at this price. And this one was a signed one by Chris Claremont, but again, instant claim. So you guys got to go over, link in the description, go give Elite Comics 11 a follow. If you do pick up a book, we ask that you let them know that the Ungraded Truth sent you. Their Elite is a great page. You got to be following them. Got to be paying attention to all of the books that are listed every single day, because again, guys, we are really in the crazy bull market right now. Pretty crazy. I don't know if there's any other book.
Not any other. Well, there probably are, but something else. I think the phrase is, we would be remiss to say. I actually don't know, but Elite launched their website. Elite.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah. Oh, you're okay. You're there. So this is cool, because instead of you should do both, because on the Instagram page, you're going to see it immediately. You have the opportunity to claim it. But if there's things way deep in the page that haven't been claimed, you actually have the ability now to search the website like a standard website would with inventory. And you can find books that way. It just got launched. So if there's any bugs, report them. But it's probably working fine. But it's cool. Perhaps finally is a fine word for it, but they've launched their website, and now you can use that the way you would any other retailer site. That's pretty awesome too. So shout out to that website. What is it? EliteComics11.com, right? Yes, it is.
EliteComics11.com. They just launched their website where you can browse their inventory. So if you are not an Instagram person, maybe you're a more traditional URL user, you can shop regularly on their page. And then also just a quick reminder, guys, later on this year, November 7th and 8th, the Elite Comics 11 Expo in Los Angeles. Be sure to head on over to their website, buy your tickets. You may want to get the VIPs, because they're going to have a trade night at that expo. It's going to be a great time. I'm definitely going to be there. Manu's definitely going to be there. Maybe we can coerce Rob and Ryan to come out to California to join us there. But the Ungraded Truth will be in attendance. You guys can hang out with us. We can make some trades. We can do the whole thing, because comic books are back, and it's a good time to be collecting and following Elite Comics 11. So link in the description, guys. Go give them a follow. Tell them the Ungraded Truth sent you. Thanks to Elite for sponsoring tonight's episode. And let's carry on with the show, guys.
Let's go.
So it's not just comics. It's not just Marvel carts that have been exploding in the collectible space. I mean, we're in the bull market right now. No matter what vertical of collecting you're in, everything is firing on all cylinders, including, and maybe especially, graded video games. Because, guys, shout out to Nostalgics, Nathan over there, his private collectible consignment company. He just reported on doing one of the biggest video game sales of all time. As you guys can see, Pokemon, the yellow version in a PSA 10, as well as a Pokemon, the red version in a PSA 10, and then a Pokemon Game Boy blue version in a 9/8 with an A++ seal, sold privately for $2 million. This private transaction puts it obviously below the recent graded Super Mario Brothers that we covered here on the Ungraded Truth, puts it below maybe a couple other sales, but this is the most expensive Pokemon Game Boy sale that we've seen, as well as one of the most expensive video game transactions that we've seen. Guys, we're going to talk a little bit more about graded video games here. We're going to kind of cover a lot of different stories within this topic, but just would want to hear, what are your guys' thoughts on this particular transaction? Do you actually like, for Pokemon specifically, going this route? Because these graded video games did technically come out before the trading cards did. So maybe they're undervalued if you're really someone who believes in the Pokemon,
the true
universe.
the rookie game.
However, I will say that, we're going to talk about the Japanese versions, which I think are actually being slept on, but, I digress on that. But anyways, what did you guys think about this particular video game sale? How do you guys feel about, Pokemon video games? What do you got?
And actually, I saw somebody make the same comment in the chat that I was going to make. And I've said it before, I am always I don't love the private sale stuff.
Sure.
It always just feels like you could be just setting up other inventory that you have and implying that, these prices are amazing and blah, blah, blah. Like that's always something that comes to mind when I see private sales, big records and all this kind of stuff. So that's kind of one of my takeaways. I have not looked at the census, I guess, or whatever you'd call it for those video games. I don't know how common the 10s are, but I felt like once I saw those sales, I saw a number of other 10s get posted. And I'm just curious how many 10, like how rare is a 10 in a graded video game? Is it something that's relatively common, or is it something that is actually rare for a graded game? It's just not something I'd really seen before. I'm always generally seeing like a 9.8 or a 9.6 or whatever when it comes to graded games.
Well, we can actually take a look at that. I mean, again, shout out to Heritage Auctions. We're going to talk about them in a second. Link in the description.
Yeah, that was one of the events I think that I also saw.
Yeah, this is one of the things we're going to talk about this particular video game auction very soon. But within their listing, you can click on over to the PSA population report, and you can actually see, if I go Pokemon here, you can see that the blue version has 350 total graded with 0 10s, 17 9/8. So that is one of 17 that was within that package. And then 337 total red versions, which one of them is a 10. So that's the only 10. And then 442 yellow versions, 2 of them are 10. So that is one of the other 2 10s. This is the Japanese version. We're going to get there when we get there. But, again, Heritage making it kind of easy to pop on over. So, yeah, the blue version, one of 17, this one of 2, and then 1 of 1 for this one here.
Okay. All right. So at least in terms of what has been graded so far, they are rare. I have no idea what future grading census might look like for graded games. I don't know if 300 is a lot or if 300 is a little. I have zero concept of how much of that is out there. We are, I don't know, I'd say at least now graded games have been around long enough that I do feel like at least I'm not as concerned with the immediate rarity pump that can come, like what we saw with pulps, like where they were brand new and it's like, oh, there's only one on census, but it's like, yeah, like one's been graded and we don't really know what it is, what's out there. But at least with video games, people have been buying and selling them now graded for what, like when was that whole thing, like 5 years ago or something like that, where it really started kicking off. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not as concerned about inventory spiking in terms of that, because they've been valuable. This is definitely another level of valuable. So maybe it draws more people in, but yeah, I mean, that doesn't seem that concern. Seeing those numbers, I doesn't bring up a lot of concerns to me. I still don't like the private sale stuff though. That always just, I don't know, kind of rubs me the wrong way.
Right. What about you, Manu or Rob? You got feelings about this particular sale?
Neil, you want to go?
I think this is really just very Pokemon driven more than anything else. Like, cool, it's PSA 10. Like Ryan, I don't really love the private sale aspect of it. But like, I just feel like the Pokemon aspect of this really is what's driving that number, maybe even more so than the PSA 10 grade.
Can I jump in? I was told in advance that there was going to be a big sale that had taken place and someone wanted to speak about it first, but like, some people in the video game community framed it to me as it was a bigger deal than the Mario sale, the Mario that Scaramucci bought for like 3 million, right? I think it was a 9.6 Nintendo Mario. And then when the announcement came out, me personally, I didn't know how to feel about it for multiple reasons. One, yeah, 2 million is a big number, but it's less than 3 million. And it's not one, it was multiple things. So I was like, wait, so why is this bigger than a bigger deal than the Mario thing, right? I don't have a connection with Pokemon, not an emotional one, not a collector one, but my relationship with Pokemon is such that I've sold some, and because there's money there, and it's a huge market, and there's a lot of money, and there's a lot of really valuable stuff. So I thought about it on the surface real quick, and I just thought, well, why is this a big deal? It's Pokemon, and it's a rare video game, so it's going to perform because everything in Pokemon that's rare goes absolutely crazy. There's a lot of money there. So how is this a bigger deal than Mario? So I reached out to one of our video game friends, Henry. Henry's actually, I think his handle is anything but games. Someone correct me. I think it's anything but games on Instagram. And he's actually one of the individuals that was bidding on the Mario game. He had a bid in at the 2-point-something million level. Like that's the type of video game guy we're talking about. So shout out to Henry. And he's always been really helpful in conversations with me. I really enjoy talking to him. And I asked him that question. I was like, I feel disconnected from being able to understand how is this how is this a big deal, right? And he framed it in a way that now I kind of understand why from the video game community it was a big deal. It's because yes, outside of video games, Pokemon collectibles we know to be the most expensive in certain categories. But in the video game community, no one anticipated these kinds of sales because no one had talked about the Pokemon games like they're the most amazing, and they don't have a sales history in the video game community of really doing that. So first he broke it down for me and saying that, well, the red, yellow, and the blue, they're first prints. So that's a big deal, right? And we talked about the grades a bit. And then he said, while it's true, Pokemon cards are going nuts, Pokemon games have never been viewed as the grails of the hobby. And then there was a lot more conversation. I won't, just read it all. But part of it is, Mario was expected to sell for millions. They all kind of were excited about that, feeling that. But if someone would have mentioned that these Pokemon games, like the Pokemon Red, which is now valued at 1.2 according to the private sale, if anyone would have talked about that in the video game market of that coming, they would have assumed that it would have done like 500K at auction. So it was a big deal to the video game guys because it outperformed their expectations. And they're not necessarily not optimistic. They like big numbers and they root for them. So this surprised them. That's why it was a big deal. And I'm like, okay, I get it from that perspective. And so for me, from just looking at it from the outside, I feel like it's just caught up to what Pokemon does in all categories. Pokemon's a big deal. People are going to want these too. And we know from, cards, even if there's 7,000 PSA 10s, that's not enough for Pokemon people on a particular card. And those cards are still going to be worth a ton. And how many video games is a lot? I'm still learning that myself, Ryan. I don't know what sort of population is considered a lot in video games, but shopping around and asking our video game friends for advice, there's certain video games that have 60 or 70 in a certain grade, and that is considered a lot, or it's considered an entry-level version of that game. And I do find myself gravitating towards or pursuing some that have like 15 or less in a particular grade. So I do think like 300 would be a lot. But I mean, we're having a conversation without context because we're not talking about a specific game. But those are my thoughts on it. I didn't have many when it was announced. I didn't understand why it was so surprising because it's not over $3 million. And then it was explained to me because of what the perceived value of it was prior to the sale. So it steps the stuff up a little bit, and that's why it's a big deal.
That makes sense. Well, if I may, wax poetic a little bit here, because I feel like even though I don't talk about it a lot, on my personal channel, I tend to know a decent amount about games. I'm no expert, but I learn a lot about them. I've been playing video games my whole life, and I've done tons and tons of research about them. And to me, what is most interesting about this sale is a twofold aspect here. One, there's so much value in the trading card space. And how many times have we had the conversation of like, why is someone buying a 1966 Donruss Spider-Man card when you can get the same thing for an AF-15? And there is an argument to be made there that, maybe there's trading card people that don't know that Spider-Man's actual first appearance is in the comic book. And maybe there will be some people that, with amongst that conversation, they'll move on over to the comic books. I'm laying that out because it is also true that the Pokemon game came out before the trading cards did. Yeah. So when a sale like this happens, And it's sort of like this, making the statement to like the Pokemon universe of like, hey, look at the big numbers for this particular item within the collecting space. And this came out before all of the trading cards. Like, do you guys think that this can steal some of that value or that like market from the trading card world and pull it into the video game space? And I think maybe that's what some of the video game collectors are excited about. So that's one talking point that maybe you guys can weigh in on, and compared to other things that you feel like are true first appearances versus not. Now, all that being said, if I may, go on a little bit of a history lesson or just a quick overview, if you guys don't know, I think that while this is cool and while this is impressive, and yes, technically these games came out before the trading cards, what came out even before these games, which are the American versions, are the Japanese versions, because the Japanese games came out in 1996. So the very first Pokemon games were called Pocket Monsters for Game Boy in Japan, and the red one with Charizard, which is this one right here, came out in 1996. Back in 24, one of the higher graded copies sold for $45K. And then the other version, which, you could choose one of the two covers, was the green version, which has Bulbasaur on it. And this one came out in 1996 as well. Granted, Charizard obviously more popular, so the red one tends to get more value. And then a couple years later, the third Japanese version would come out in 1998, and that would be the Pikachu version. Because, at that point, Pikachu was now the flagship character. So this one came a little bit later. And this one came out at the same time that the American versions came out. I say all that to say it's very interesting because these ones, being the American bias, are getting like the prices that they're doing. Like this Charizard one is getting, like what we say the value is now, $1.2 million. Yet there's technically a Japanese version that came out 2 years prior. Anyways, all that to say, I think video games are very interesting. We're kind of in this like 2.0 version of the video game explosion. I think it's possible that trading card people could be looking now at video games after the sale, and even more possible that maybe the Japanese versions are the ways to go. But what do you guys think about all the stuff that I kind of laid out there on the table?
I mean, when it comes to Pokemon cards, I'm sure there's some exceptions, but generally the Japanese cards sell for less. People tend to want to pay for and collect the thing that they used or they played with. And so earlier doesn't always equate to better or more valuable. I do think, obviously, if those big numbers being seen for those games is going to drive the values, I'm sure, in the Japanese versions as well.
Can I ask? Sorry, Ryan, can I ask, do you think that the market is wrong? And could you ever see the market correcting?
I don't think the market is wrong on that. Okay. To me, it's the same as, or very similar to US versions of comics and like the UK versions, the Pence versions, and where I believe it's generally fairly well accepted that the foreign ones were actually, because they're printed on the same presses, and I believe printed first. And they usually have better colors and there's lower numbers of them, but people don't want them. They don't want them as much. And so they go for like 60% the value. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think those ones were kind of around the same time, though.
Yeah, they're
like
printed
maybe
it's at the same time, but it's like on the presses earlier. Yeah.
Yes. But the Pokemon one, and again, I'm just trying to have the debate. I'm not saying that the Japanese ones are better, but like 2 years earlier. 2 years earlier.
I think one of the things with the Japanese versus US prices in the TCG world specifically are they're identical items. Like they're the same exact card, and they've basically released it essentially simultaneous times, like in both Pokemon and One Piece, etc. So you do see the Japanese version sell a lot. I think if that, specifically the Charizard one that you showed, Swag, I think if that came up to auction today, I think it would potentially outsell the PSA 10. Because it's not apples to apples, like you see in like with a Japanese Pikachu. Those cards basically are came out. They're basically the same card, just different text. This is a different item completely to some degree.
So, okay. But I want to talk about what Ryan said, and then I want to answer Swag's question. Ryan was comparing it to, like, let's just use an AF-15 as an example, the US release, the Pence copy, the UK release. And I have heard that said that they were probably released or printed first so that they can get distributed and released at the same time. Like they had to make the trip over there, so on and so forth, right? But then, and pardon me if some of this makes me sound stupid. I'm just having a thought experiment. I'm not a Pokemon guy. Pokemon's a Japanese IP, is it not?
Yeah.
So that's a bit of a difference there then in my mind, right? Because like the comic books are US created things. So the US ones are the origin of it. But like this is a double whammy. If Japan's the origin of the IP and it came out years prior, I think there could be a case made for the market correcting. Because it seems to make sense that those are the origin items. And everyone loves the origin of the thing that they love. Like when people get to the more and more rare and they start digging more and more, it's why in manga well, not we, I'm not, but there's scripts and stuff being discussed now, things that came before the things that everyone got their hands on. So to me, I like Swag's debate here or discussion here, but I think if Swag is making the argument that it could correct later, I think there's an easy and strong argument to be made. I think it can happen. And shout out Arcs Collectibles, because I think it's Arcs that has these Japanese ones, and he's like posting.
I don't know if those are
Instagram.
his, but he has been posting.
Oh, them is his. If Arcs is posting on his page, they're his. Arcs is.
Okay. I've had conversation with Arc about the Famicom, which is the Japanese Nintendo. That a lot of the Nintendo games, came out before the US versions. Like, for instance, Legend of Zelda, which we all know very well. Like, the Japanese one came out before the US one. I like floating the conversation. I don't believe that markets ever truly correct in that way, but maybe in video games it could happen. Maybe trading cards is going to be tough because like it's so established in trading cards, whereas video games sales like this are still kind of new, and you never really know like where the culture of the market could play out in this case.
I don't know the category well enough, but hasn't the Japanese manga outsold the US manga of equivalents like by a wide margin?
Those are definitely not. I don't see those in the same. I feel like they're so different. I don't really see it as comparable, but I mean that's kind of my take on that. But
I guess that would be my comparison to this Japanese Charizard versus the US, or the Japanese Charizard cover Game Boy game versus the US one that came out a couple of years later. I kind of view it like a Dragon Ball or One Piece manga in Japanese versus English.
It's true. I mean, I don't know. I mean, another determining factor will obviously be what is the pop reports? Like, what is the census is here? What's the rarity? Were more Pokemon 1998 Game Boy games ripped open? Maybe there's like more sealed Japanese versions. Who really knows? I think those are all some of the big factors, but I don't know. Interesting stuff. I mean, again, I think that the sale is pretty cool to see. Pretty exciting, and just might draw some attention from the trading card world. What's going to happen if Logan Paul comes out and his next big hunt is graded video games? Like, maybe Logan Paul is the person who bought this thing. I mean, who really knows? That could be very interesting what that does.
I feel like we'd know if he bought it. I'm pretty sure he'd be telling us already if he had bought it.
I think it's less about card people coming into various markets right now. I think what we're seeing across all the collectible categories is more just general rich people coming in, and they're wanting to buy the best of whatever it is that's out there, or what they perceive as the best. So I don't think it's necessarily, at least on these high-end stuff, I don't think it's the card folks like specific. I don't think it's card money specifically coming in. I think it's just general like venture capitalist, ultra rich dudes, these people like Scaramucci that have like these funds of collectibles that they're putting together. And we're seeing these battles for whatever a group of people conceive is the best thing in that particular category, or maybe not the best, but like on the top 10 list of whatever category it is that you're talking about. When it comes up, they're just going to go for it, regardless of what holder it's in, regardless of what previous prices were paid. They just don't care.
It's a really good point, Rob. As you say that, like, I don't know Kevin O'Leary, but my assumption is going to be like, does he really spend his time studying the Pocket Monster 1996 Red Charizard Japanese version compared to like, oh, Pokemon, I heard that's big. Oh, $2 million, I'll pay for that one. Like,
he
know,
doesn't,
so,
but he probably has an assistant on his staff that's their entire job.
Sure. But I guess to your point, like maybe it's just like whatever's the biggest branded thing, like who cares if technically, that not everyone's Manu and cares about the error variant on the VHS, of Spawn and stuff like that, So, well, I don't know. Interesting story with the video games. The video games are having a huge resurgence. They, we did the cover story one time on the previous episode where we talked about Treasure Trove buying that's graded Super Mario Brothers, and then we also did that episode where we talked about PlayStation discontinuing physical media. And here we are like a couple months later. And I really genuinely think like the video game market has heated up since those things have happened. And, it's a very interesting thing and a very interesting story, especially when you compare it to where video games and the graded video game bubble was back in 2020 and 2021, which brings us to our next little story that I think we should touch on since we're talking about video games. But if you guys don't know Carl Jost, he is a YouTuber that was a video game speedrunning YouTuber. And he actually made one of the more famous videos back in 2020 and 2021 during the graded video game bubble, where he kind of just laid out how he felt like it was a scam and people were losing their hats on all this stuff. And a lot of people within the video game community, like you mentioned previously already, Manu, people like Henry and Greg and guys like that, had a lot of criticisms for Carl's video because there was a lot of like misinformation on it and it wasn't really accurate. And the irony being that Carl himself has become a graded video game collector, like ever since all those things happened. So he's actually collected a lot of this stuff. But he recently came into the video game news because he made a video about actually friend of the channel, Danielle, otherwise known as Nerdy Girl, who was a big video game collector. But all these years later, came out with this video that was called She Lost $400,000 on a Single Video Game. We don't need to go necessarily into all the details of this thing. I felt like this video was really unfair. And I thought it was like totally random, and I felt like we just sort of had to talk about it. But Manu, I know you watched this video and I know we talked a little bit about it, but What was your sense on when you saw this thing and your feeling about, his take on the situation?
If it wasn't Danielle, I would feel differently about it, but I know her. Shout out to Danielle. So like top of mind was just like, man, what the hell? Like I just want top of mind. I just sent some positivity to Danielle, like just in my mind. I was like, man, because I know people are sending this to her. I know she's seeing it, and as much as she's like a strong person and she's, she's had her fair share of criticism for a lot of things. So, she can present herself as if things aren't bothering her, but who wouldn't be at least a little pissed off at this? So I was just, thinking to myself, man, when she does see this, which inevitably she will, I hope she's all right. I hope she's fine. I hope she realizes, this kind of stuff. It happens and people will forget about it. So I want her to be good, because that's a tough thing to even have to watch about a situation that you're very well familiar with yourself. It's your situation. But now removing the relationship or the fact that I know Danielle, right? If it was someone else, I'm just like, holy shit, that's a lot of money to lose on a video game, like outside of it being an unfair video and all of that, just if it is all fact, which I was not aware of at all. I didn't know that she had bought a Zelda game for that much money. I didn't know the history of the Zelda games. I didn't know that higher grades sold for less later or whatever the whole thing is. It goes into a bunch of stuff, right? And I was like, yeah, he's got a good point about it being a bad purchase, but there's still value there. And there was a whole lot of like hype and speculation during the pandemic and manipulation and all kinds of things. And I personally did not realize that Danielle was buying very expensive games. At that point in time, Danielle and I don't think had ever spoken. I thought she was just selling very expensive games. So I didn't know. And so, it was kind of like, damn. But like, it really did seem like homie had like a personal grudge, even though he kept talking about it as if he didn't know who she was, or that she was a public figure, or that she had such an audience. You got to do a little bit of research before you run someone's face on a screen for an hour. I'm sure he knew that she, that a lot of people know her and do business with her. And it felt like he wanted to poke at her. Like, that's what it felt like. And so, yeah, a shitty situation, I guess. No one wants to have something that's reduced its value by that much, especially starting at such a high number. But at the same time, maybe there's opportunity to rebound some and get it back. And to speak to when you said, some of the controversy in the video game community is like, this guy talked all the shit, but he's a graded game collector. I had never known anything about him until this video. And so I didn't know, what some of his contradictions are. But yeah, he proudly at the end showed his graded video games. And he was like, I buy these because I think he said, like, these are what I used to play. And I don't have any intention of selling them. I collect them because I want like a high grade preserved copy of the thing, which makes perfect sense.
This is where, I want to chime in on that, because this to me, I mean, I watched that video and my first thought was, what was the point of this video? Yeah, it did feel like it felt like an attack video almost. Like you said, it's like there's some grudge to me. But then when he got to the end, he started spouting the standard gatekeeper collector garbage that we hear on the comic side, where it's like, I played these games, so I have a connection to it, so I'm allowed to buy these graded. It's that kind of stuff.
Ridiculous.
And I'm just like, this is insane. Yeah. I mean, but we've talked about this before. It's like, this is in every collectible space. You see it in coins. I watched some coin stuff, and people are like, coins are meant to be out and handled. They aren't meant to be in slabs. You hear this everywhere. Like Pokemon cards are meant to be played with. Comics are meant to be read. Video games are meant to be played. It's in every space. There's always these people, and you just like, it sucks. It really sucks for Danielle, because he has a very large channel, and that video got seen. You saw there 600,000 times. Yeah. Who wants their purchase? Like, I lost money on stuff I bought during the pandemic. If you bought anything during the pandemic and you didn't sell it like that, you lost money on it. Who wants that out there? Someone just like calling out your loss. Like, it's just, it sucks. Like, I thought it was an unnecessary, kind of just pointless video. And it really did feel like he had an agenda, because he was specifically pointing out the sales that had lost money. Mm-hmm. And then he mentioned the Mario sale that was a new record and brushed it aside like it was not really relevant.
I think he even said he was in support of it. It was weird. It was like,
it was a very, I did not get this video. It was very strange for me to watch.
It was definitely really strange. I mean, I feel like it's just like the cognitive dissonance that he has with it. And like you already set up, like, it is the same sort of criticisms of like the rules for me and not for thee, or the rules for thee but not for me. Like, he's like saying, oh, I'm a real collector and I want to have this stuff, and grading is a scam and all these things. But if I have a sealed, really valuable Pokemon game, I'm also going to grade it and consign it to heritage auctions to sell it as well. Like, so this is what people always do. They always like have these instances where they'll like criticize grading, or they'll say, they'll gatekeep, and it's just totally ridiculous. I just like, I don't know what the motive behind it is. Maybe he's feeling like, I got to validate his previous video, which I didn't do a good job totally setting up. But if you guys actually go back and watch it, which I actually did, it's really funny, because a lot of the accusations, and we've addressed this before when we talked about the Super Mario sale, but a lot of the accusations I look at now and I just think to myself, I don't know, it's another Tuesday in collectibles. It's like, it turns out, auction houses want to pump up their items. Turns out grading companies get more money if the fair market value for an item is higher. So there's pseudo incentivized to grade higher because they can charge 4%, of the whatever value for the grading of the item. It's like, like, this is just what it is. This is just what it is. And what I didn't understand about his video too, with his criticisms, is like, he's pulling up this old video where they're talking about their speculation of the video game market. Say what you will about Danielle or people who speculated on video games, but they were just talking about, here's our thesis. We're buying this thing because we think that it's going to go up. Here's been some of the sales. We think Zelda's a big character, yada, yada. And his criticism was like, they never spend one time talking about how they grew up playing Zelda or like how they love the character. It's like, do you really have to hear people say that every single time? Like, if we talk about 1966 Donruss later on in our show, do we need to preamble and say, oh, by the way, guys, before we get into this, I just want to share a story about how I grew up loving Spider-Man. And I remember opening my first trading card pack and man, just the smell of the cards. Like, do I really need to say all this to like then talk about the Donruss sale? Like, or can we just like get to what the topic of the video is? Like, so anyway, that just really bothered me that was like the big criticism he had in the video. And honestly, the other thing is too, is like, we don't know that she lost money. He never actually confirmed that. He's just saying, this is what it sold for then. This is what it sells for now. Maybe she unloaded it. You know,
no, she still has the game.
She said she still has it.
Well, you only lose until
you only lose when you sell the diamond hands.
You only lose when you sell. Yeah, exactly. So, you know, she's about to, you know, ride this next collectible bull market. But anyways, I thought it was an unfair video and an unfair criticism. And I kind of wanted to address it. You know, Danielle's been on my channel before. She's always been really kind to me. So, you know, I've never had any issues with her. And I feel like she gets a lot of criticism. Like maybe some of it is just because she's a salesperson and she sells collectibles. So seller's going to sell. So if you have issues with people who sell, like you're going to have issues with people who sell. So anyways, that's my 2 cents on it. And Rob, I don't know if you want to weigh in any.
I didn't see the video, so I don't want to spit hot takes when I haven't seen the source material. I didn't do the homework. I didn't know we had a homework assignment this week.
It's 2026 in social media. Hey, it's 2026 in social media. You don't need to do research. You can just go straight to hot takes, you know?
For instance, based on that, I want to ask, because I never watched any of the videos from that guy. I don't know who he is outside of this video. You guys know that he actually at one point in time was against graded games? Like he's the guy that would say games are meant to be played, don't encapsulate them, and now he has them? Or is that just kind of like how we're hearing about it, but we don't know that was actually
it was more his statements at the end where he brought out games and he was making the statements like, oh, these are games I played, these are like that he had graded, like he had
no, absolutely.
It's much more of that
Okay, gotcha.
It's that side of things.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But damn, video games, bro, that market, oh my gosh, crazy.
Totally crazy.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about graded video games in a second because we have, you know, a couple sales that are coming up. But before we get there, we have to give a shout out to the other sponsor of tonight's stream, which is, of course, Heritage Auction, guys. Now, guys, I don't really have to introduce Heritage Auctions, but I'm going to do it anyways, because if you don't know, Heritage Auctions is one of the most trusted premier auction houses in the nation. If you're a collector, Heritage is one of the best resources out there, not just for finding your next grail, but for researching the hobby. With a free Heritage account, you can track upcoming items, dig through past auction results to see what things have actually sold for, and set alerts so you don't miss something that you've been hunting for, maybe a graded video game. Whether you're buying or selling or just trying to understand the market better, Heritage is an incredible tool for collectors. So check out Heritage, link in the description. They are the sponsor of the Ungraded Truth tonight, and they are giving new clients an exclusive offer where if you've never actually bought on Heritage before, if you've never actually gone to their website or made an account, if you click the link in the description and you make a new account and you make a first purchase of $100 or more on any item, you will receive a $50 rebate on your purchase. That is exclusive for any new time buyers. And, you know, I've talked about it on my channel. I know that we've all talked about it before. Like, even if you don't buy anything, like it's a no-brainer to have a Heritage Auctions account. Like I use it every single day to look at past sales. I mean, I was able to just, even while we were talking about, you know, the Pocket Monster stuff, I was just instantly, oh, let me go over here. Let me look at the previous sales for this so we can have it in the conversation. Let me pull up the PSA pop report that is linked in it. So it's a really great resource for anybody that wants to utilize it. And this exclusive offer is pretty great. And speaking of, you know, upcoming things, you know, it's pretty cool because come September 24th and 26th, they're having their next comic book signature auction. And if we click on that link right here, we'll be brought over to, you know, some of the crazy upcoming books. And, you know, luckily I have an account. I can track, you know, what's hitting the market. I thought that this was crazy. Absolute Batman, the Quintana cover is now Heritage signature worthy. Like, isn't that pretty wild? Like how far this book has actually come. But that's one of the great grails. And then of course, the coming up, soon to be next sale for an Amazing Fantasy 15 and a CGC 7.0. Guys, what do you think about this one? I'm gonna ask you guys more about some heritage want list and stuff, but while we're here, we should talk a little bit about this book. What do you guys think about it?
The PSA one looks better, just at a quick glance.
Yeah,
this one looks like this one has a little chipping, and the wrap is not as great.
Yeah, well,
people saying this is a white page. This is not a white page. It's off-white to white. People in the comment section just make up a bunch of shit, and then everyone else thinks it's right. Someone was like, "This is a white pager coming up, and it has better eye appeal." That is not a fucking white pager.
Yes.
Trigger warning.
Was the white page? The white page was maybe being referenced to the previous sale that had sold. Was a white pager.
Calm down.
Yeah, Ryan, why don't you talk about this one? I'm always surprised that I've seen it time again that Marvel chipping is something that collectors really seem to not want of all the flaws. Like, do you have a sense of why that's the case, or is that your read too?
I don't feel like it used to be. I feel like that is something that has changed more recently, and it may have been partly because CGC used to largely disregard it as a manufacturing flaw, but they have changed that stance in how they grade, and so they do actually ding the book with Marvel chipping now. And I feel like that's kind of when it started to shift. But I mean, I'll say the big positives for this book is the colors on that book look fantastic. They do look
colors are amazing,
really good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a 7, so it's not going to be perfect. It's got, the crease in the upper, the things that when I look at the book, the two things that jump out are the chip on the right side and the crease in the upper right corner. And I mean, the miswrap a little bit, but miswraps don't really bother me that much as long as it's
miswraps drive me crazy.
But that's the difference with everybody, on their preferences on books. Miswraps like that don't really bug me, especially if it's in that direction where I'm not getting the front going to the back.
Damn, that's a heavy one though. Holy cow. Could you imagine if it was the reverse and you were seeing that much of the back cover on the front?
Yeah, show the back real quick, Swags. There's a lot bleeding onto the back on that bad boy.
Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, but that's the thing, it's on the back. So that doesn't really bug me. I look much more for the colors, and this, that's a book where sometimes the red starts to fade, the yellows and the browns look the yellow especially pops on that copy. So I'll say that's something that
do you still have the PSA one pulled up, Swag, that you could show them relatively side by side?
How's the spine on this?
See, I was this one's a little yellowing, compared to this one, which I would say is much more white, within the browns, which I prefer, right?
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see because they're both 7s. They definitely have their positives and their negatives. That book is brighter. If that's the thing you're looking for, that could be the big selling point, that the PSA one has less noticeable flaws on the front cover. So it really will be, I don't think this will get that number. I don't think it'll match just because of the chipping, but we'll see. It'll be,
I will hope it get halfway there. I'm bidding $75K. That's bold, isn't it? Oh, wow. I'm going to do it.
Can you pull up the CGC scan of that book?
I want to see the spine. I want to know how many ticks there are.
It depends when it was. What's the cert number?
Oh, is it an older?
I don't know. Oh, it is there.
What are you guys' thoughts about the AF-15?
See, to me, now look how much different the color looks.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm evaluating it from the I would call it a blue tone within this gray right here. So it's still because anything could change when we're looking at the label, for instance, the blue in the label versus the blue in the label here. So it's the brightness of this photo.
This looks more natural. This looks like what it should look like. The heritage scan to me looks overly bright.
Yeah. Well, this is a what do you call it? When CGC does a thing, they're just taking a picture of it. Here's your picture. Whereas this is hey, let me do the highest possible resolution I can give you for your photo right here. So it's going to be able to, you can zoom in like this. So it's higher quality photo.
What slab do you guys think looks better with it? I like the way the PSA looks. I'm with some of our friends here in the chat. The red looks good with it.
It's one of the ones that looks pretty decent in a PSA, but I am a little bit still more partial to the CGC slab because I am more used to it, to be honest.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
And the thing I don't know about that PSA slab is I don't know is it the bigger one or is it the regular sized one?
I think so.
Because a lot of the Silver Age stuff was getting thrown in that slightly bigger slab.
No, that one's in the AF-15's in the regular.
Swag held it, so he would know.
Yeah, it's in the smaller one, to answer your question. But again, a lot of great books coming up in this signature auction. This is actually one of the ones that I got to see at San Diego Comic-Con. Ryan, do you have this book or do you have the Punch?
I have it in a 3.0. So I will be watching what that book sells for. Big numbers. There you go. Push it up.
Big numbers. Well, if you guys make a Heritage account, you can track all these books and find out if Ryan has lost money like Danielle or gained money like whoever owns graded Pokemon video games.
I bought mine on Heritage, so you can see my purchase price. So you'll know if I lost money or not.
Here's one for you, Manu. But did you notice that, if you have your items tracked, you have your want list. This is the Malibu Sun 13 Spawn Error Edition in a 9.6 with white pages. Maybe, Manu, you need to get on your Heritage account and add it to your want list, then you would get notified.
Yeah, no, I just didn't know. I didn't cruise this auction yet. When is this coming to market? Is it already open for bidding? What's happening here?
No, it's not open for bidding yet. This will be September 24th is when this starts. Open for bidding as far as these items are concerned. Let me see. Open for bidding on September 4th.
I don't know what the recorded sales are, but I will say I sold my last 9.6 error for $9K.
Well, there you go. So if you guys don't know, the error variant has Spawn in green right here. That's the main error, or is there other stuff going on?
No, it's the back. It's just the back cover. It's printed with a certain color registration gone, and it's green rather than this. This is what that image would look like otherwise.
There you go. So yeah, other cool books in here, and then I think I had one other that I wanted to share with you guys that I think is super interesting. Here's an Overstreet first print. I know you're into that, Manu. That's one of your.
Oh, there's an Overstreet on here too. What grade is that?
Yeah. It's a 9.0 Overstreet price guide.
Get on Heritage. Like, come on. Everything's here. That's a 9.0. Bro, I sold a 9.0. I graded and sold a 9.0. Now there's a 9.0 first print at auction. Oh, shit.
At auction. Here's Ryan, you got a punch of this, too. This is a nice
mine is
Punch Comics 12.
Grade than that one. Mine is a 5.
And then I think that there was some other stuff. We'll do a recap of this, a suspense, which is always cool to see. Oh, here's the one I thought was interesting. I feel like we've seen this book before. Didn't we? Did we talk about this one recently? A 9.9 newsstand of ASM 252. I don't know. It just seems like some of these books just keep popping up.
Is it the same one? It is the same one. That's the old label. That's the one.
It could be the same one. So that'll be interesting to see. And then Ryan is going to be able to have, another field book here, see what this book ends up selling for. But
it does seem like it's leveled off around the $10,000 price point, 9 to 10. So
yeah,
where it's about going.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. So, definitely, if you guys want, to take advantage of this exclusive offer, save $50 off on your first purchase of $100 or more. At the end of the day, just make a Heritage account. Because you can search prices. It's like a free price guide. You can track all the items. Don't be like Manu if you're searching for Spawn, Malibu Sun, error variants. You just go over here. I go to My Heritage and I just go to my want list, which I feel like we should talk a little bit about this, but I don't want you guys to see all of the stuff on my want list, but there are some things, on my want list. Like if, we can go over here and I can show you. Well, one thing, I do have Arcade Flyers on my want list, but I do have a Spider-Man 1982 Atari game that is on my want list, and that's going to be a graded video game that comes up for sale recently. So definitely go check out the link in the description, guys. Check out Heritage Auctions, a great auction house. We appreciate Heritage sponsoring tonight's stream. Go save yourself some $50. But let's get back into the show, which actually, speaking of Heritage Auctions, I did want to kind of revisit some of the Marvel trading card stuff, because on Heritage Auctions, we actually had a couple crazy Marvel trading card sales. Most notably, maybe this 2013 Precious Metal Gem complete set that sold for $168,000. Manu, Rob, I got to look over to you guys with this one. Complete set going for this amount of money. How'd you feel about this sale? What are you thinking?
Rob, you take it away. I was speaking to the bidder bidding on this thing, and he had just put like $130,000 bid in while we were talking. I was like, "Holy shit, man, this is incredible!" But I don't know if he ended up winning. Rob, talk about this, please.
I haven't followed pricing on these as super close, especially for a complete set. But this is like, this is the OG of OGs, and I will say, like we were talking about the artwork on PMGs earlier. Like this set has way better artwork. You can see the Spider-Man in the top right corner there if you want to give it a little zoomy zoom. But a lot of the artwork on the characters in this set to me looks a lot better than some of the more recent ones.
Yeah, so this is interesting because we talked about this particular precious metal gem that in the 7 got 20K. So, this one being, like 168, like I don't know if you did like the individual math here, but like maybe this person for that amount of money is actually getting a pretty good deal. I mean, I don't know if there's other super valuable cards compared to the Spider-Man, but maybe you guys could talk about more about that.
The Spider-Man carries a lot of the weight. I'm trying to remember who else is on this checklist. The Captain America one does pretty okay. The Iron Man one does pretty okay. The Wolverine one's a big one.
Yeah, I would assume the Wolverine one for sure has got to be one of the more valuable, right?
Were there any 10s in here, or was it all?
I would be shocked. PSA 8s on these are really good grades. These are
so you got a 9.
A 9 is, you could basically consider a 9 like a 10, and like a 10 would be like,
I mean, a 9 for the Captain America.
The cap is that's a cool looking card. I like the cap.
Yeah. Once again, there is some like the Iron Man image, in my opinion, is pretty nice on this one, on this set as well. The artwork in this set, generally speaking, is way better overall. I'm trying to remember who else is pretty popular in this set.
I would assume
cool looking.
There's
a lot of PSA 9s in this, which is pretty good.
Yeah, and the PSA 9s are super strong. And Neil, correct me if I'm wrong here. This might be something worth knowing to some.
I love that Magneto.
Yeah. I was going to say Magneto looks sweet. So does Galactus.
Yeah, the artwork in this is actually really cool for the precious metal gems. These are good. Yeah, so it looks like 9 is the highest grade and 7 being more on the low end. Like these are pretty solid set.
Yeah, a 7 for this is still a pretty decent grade. Like I said, a 10 in this set would be like a CGC 10 on a comic book. Like they just don't happen. I don't know exactly what the pop report is. I'd be shocked if there's more than a handful of 10s on the PSA pop report for this. These are so condition sensitive. They chip so easy, and they're thicker cards too on top of it.
These are numbered to 100, but they aren't actually 100, right? Isn't the first 1
correct?
Through 10
the
green?
First 10 are green, and then 11 through are the red. So really, there's only 90. There's not 100.
See, I'd be
Other interesting set that did sell out of this particular auction, this was like a kind of a non-sports card collection auction that went the other day. 1990 Marvel Series 1 complete set. I believe all of these are PSA 10s. And this complete set getting $20,000. What's your kind of temp check on that price, Neil?
That seems pretty strong. I think, what is this, a 90 card set? 90?
It said 162 cards.
Oh, is it 162?
That's like that's only $120 a card.
162.
Only a handful of these carry like really heavy weight. But some of them do have, I think it's High Evolutionary.
The Spider-Man
one of these is a really tough 10.
I think you're right about the High Evolutionary. That is one that
I feel like it's High Evolutionary.
Yeah, for some reason,
there's like a couple cards in the set that, for whatever reason, is really, really hard to PSA 10. I'm actually gonna see if I can pull the pop report while we're talking here. I mean, this set is near and dear to both of our heart. Swag.
Yeah.
I would love to put this together in a PSA 10 at some point in time. But one thing that's kind of crazy, like side note on this set, is the box prices have actually stayed basically the same since they went nutty. Like they went nutty and then they pulled back after COVID. These essentially have been between like a $700 and like a $900 box since then. They have not gone down. It hasn't gone like way up. It's kind of crazy that they've held that strong considering like how mass produced this set is.
Do you think that has to do with the fact that in case people in the chat don't know, the holograms like are still like, if you can get like a 9 or a 10 out of a hologram, they are insane amounts of money. Like you almost wonder if like, is the box value not as high as it should be.
I think the box value is about to change because some of these cards are selling for a ton now. Like just the base Spidey, there's like 200 something tens of it, I think, and it's regularly selling now between like $1,150 and $1,300, which it wasn't doing that recently, you know. And
yeah,
COVID bubble, it was way higher than that, but
yeah. And then Rob, speaking of sealed box prices, they had this actually go up there. I don't know if you know off the top of your head what the Star Wars 1977 tops is, but I know you're a Luke Skywalker collector. But 30,000 for a sealed box of this.
Yeah, I can't imagine there's many of those in existence. And actually, I pulled a pop report. The High Evolutionary is not the hardest one to hit anymore. There's 79 on the PSA 10 pop report. The Galactus is only 66. Like that's the lowest that I've seen.
That's the lowest pop now.
Yeah, I'm doing a real quick scroll through.
During the pandemic, there were certain cards that only had like 5.
The High Evolutionary one was really rough for a long time, and it does. Oh, which one's this at 68? X Factor, the team card, is only at 68.
Maybe that has to do with that card not really being sent in as much, but
it's probably just people chasing set registry stuff.
Yeah. But I don't know. Interesting sale with this one. I mean, would be kind of fun to rip this open and try to pull a Luke Skywalker PSA 10.
Yeah, and that's just, I think this one is a smaller checklist, so I would imagine you would pull quite a few. I don't know how many you're like.
I assume the centering is probably the biggest problem on cards like that.
100%.
Yeah, it is. We're 5 minutes away from the Donruss ending, guys. Just heads up.
Yeah, we will check in that. But, I just wanted to kind of go over some of these sales. I think that they're super interesting. If you guys use Heritage Auctions, but you don't collect comic books, they have all this type of stuff. But
the also, holograms, there are 10,000, like there's 5 holograms on the checklist. There are just under 10,000 total graded. There is only 51 10s total.
That's not a lot. It's not a lot for card collecting audience.
And there's only the trickiest one is the Spider-Man versus Green Goblin. There's only 4.
Wow.
PSA 10.
Yeah, that's pretty low.
Only 4 people in the world could have an entire set, including the holograms, in a PSA game. Only 4.
I mean, that's twice as much.
10, the Surfer, there's 8. The Magneto is 17, and the Cosmic Spider-Man is 12.
Yo, I know a guy that has 2 all 10 hologram sets. That means he owns 2 of the 4
that could possibly exist.
Wow, that's awesome.
Pretty crazy. Well, upcoming. If you guys want to know, be sure to make a Heritage account and track their items. But check this out, Manu. A complete set, 1966 Donruss, complete 66 cards right here. Coming to auction. And I think if we go to card 34, because I feel like we just got to make sure we know what that one is.
Yeah.
If we go to card 34, we look at the grade. Not bad. 6 on the PSA. I mean, a 6 right now is what? 7K?
No,
something like that?
10. It's over 10 now.
So there you have it, like a complete Donruss set in PSA, which I believe let's see, if the 6 is generally, it looks like a lot of 6s, maybe a 5, an 8, 5. So it's going to do very, very, very well. So that's coming up very, very soon. You got your top
Wolverine sticker in the top right corner is very popular right now.
This is the Marvel Masterpiece complete set, and then we had to talk about this. The Wolverine rookie card, as people now identify this one as. But 1980 PSA 7. I think that this one is now like a 5-figure, maybe even 6 for some of the highest grades.
We haven't had a 6-figure sale yet, but we did have a 9 sell for 20K recorded recently. There's 110. The 10 is now owned by Gary V. I don't know if he's publicly said how much he paid for it, but he did well on it because it's worth more than that now. And there's 2 versions of this card. There's the Spain version and the Argentina version. One has a blank back. One has some print on the back. And people go for the whatever the one is with the print on the back. Is that Spain or Argentina? Spain. This is the Spain version of the card. So this is the one that most collectors say is the one that came out first, but there is confusion about it. No one actually knows or has been able to prove it. But there are 2 versions. And one of the versions is pretty easily identifiable from the front at a glance. The Argentina version is because there's a little black mark that shows up on the lower left on majority of them. It's not on all of them. But if you look on eBay, you'll see most of the Argentina ones have a little black mark at the bottom.
Yeah. Well, rookie cards have definitely been a thing as of late within the trading card world, especially for non-sports collectors. The Wolverine card, as you said, is already gaining steam. And maybe that's in large part due to the fact that the 1966 card 34, otherwise known as the rookie card of Spider-Man, has also been leading the way. Now, before we talk about the big premiere card that is about to sell, we're just a minute away. We're going to have a official live reaction. We're going to see what the card actually sells for in the PSA 9. I feel like we have to properly set up the story because this all started about 2 weeks ago when a card 34 sold in a PSA 8 for $25,000. When we did our show, we talked about all of the big mads in the comment section. There was a lot of people that were losing their mind over the sale. Obviously, this card instantly getting comparisons to that of low-grade AF-15s. Why would someone dare buy this card when you could buy, your actual first appearance? Well, since this sale, the Donruss cards and this card in particular have been going absolutely insane. In fact, before the show started, we had another PSA 8 sell for $50,000. Imagine if you bought this card for $25K and everyone called you an idiot. And in 2 weeks, you doubled your money. Well, you just did because of the fact that this sold at $50,000. And this person was probably willing to spend that because right now, guys, we are seconds away from watching the sale of a PSA
Holy
9.
Shit.
Oh my God.
My God.
Holy cow. Oh my
175.
gosh.
Wow.
What is it? It's doing this. What did it? What's the close? What's the close? My thing's doing the thing.
175.
The refresh.
Wow.
It looks like it's 175, but let me do a quick refresh here. $175,100 for the 1966 Marvel Superheroes Card 34 Spider-Man Next Time I'll Fly the Kite in a PSA 9. Rookie card market is absolutely insane right now.
Wow.
Guys, we're reacting to this live. I mean, what do you think
10
about
of
this?
those, and there are 2 10s. The 10 is over. What is the wow.
Swag, can you do me a favor and click on the bid history on that?
I just looked at it.
Absolutely. 218 bids for this card. This was a highly viewed auction.
And then can you click on the winning bidder?
Oh,
I just want to see their bid activity percentage with the seller.
So 20% bid activity.
That's a little high.
Oh, I see. Who's the seller? The seller's for sharp corners, though. Big consignment thing.
Yeah,
know?
but
wait.
Yeah,
unpack that. Well, let's talk about that. Unpack that for me. 20%. What's the big deal?
I mean, that means that the way that I understand this, I mean, you can click the little thought bubble there to see if it tells you more information.
This shows the percentage of all bids from this bidder that went to this specific seller.
There's a lot of eBay sellers that have 20% activity with one seller. Seems like a lot. And yes, For Sharp Corners is a very big consignor. So it's not completely.
So,
what's the second place bidder?
Let's see here.
20% is not obscene. I've seen way worse.
0%.
Okay, so they've never bought from them before. You can just kind of go down the list here just to kind of see if there's anything.
And then the next bidder here, 1%. So you're saying this person that bought this thing obviously buys from this seller a lot.
A lot. Yeah.
Okay.
Not buys, bids.
Bids. Okay. I mean, maybe not out of, the realm of possibility, possibly someone who is a card dealer, obviously, who buys a lot of auctions, maybe, or another reseller or someone like that.
I was just curious what the number was. That's all. Because sometimes it could skew very far one direction, and that could be very telling.
Can we hop into the research tool and see if it's already been paid for?
I did, and that was one thing. I did check the 50,000 and just to make sure, and it did sell, and it was the full 50. It wasn't an offer or anything like that.
Yeah. So absolutely insane to see that, and actually worth mentioning that there was actually a PSA 7 that also sold for $35,101. So the PSA 7 already jumping that last week big mad brain aneurysm PSA 8 sale.
Click on that bit of history too, just while we're doing it.
I wonder if it's the same person.
Doesn't look like it.
No,
okay, it doesn't look like it.
But it looks like the person that got second.
The underbidder.
Yeah, it is the underbidder.
The underbidder won the 7.
There you go.
Very interesting.
The
78-41 feedback was the underbidder on the PSA 9.
58%.
The day after
Yeah,
the
58.
$25,000 PSA 8 sale, there was a friend of mine that sold 2 7s privately for $15,000 a pop, and now look.
Okay,
Wow.
this is insane. This is let's have this conversation. Like,
Let's have it.
Manu,
Yeah,
what the hell's going on?
no one knows.
It's all. This is all someone with who obviously Gary V has been buying all this stuff and pumping all this stuff.
No, not even.
Tell me there's another explanation, because that's the only explanation, right?
That's the smile in a face of someone that knows more than they can say.
I don't know what's happening. I just know that it's that's a lot of money for that card, and if people have the conviction that there's not enough to go around, and it is going to be seen as the Michael Jordan rookie equivalent of a fictional character, then maybe those values hold. That's a lot, but I'm excited. I'm just entertained by it now, and I have things to sell that are now worth a lot more as a result of these sales. So at the same time, I have that interest in it as well. Like, everything I have is appreciated in the last 2 weeks more than I thought it would. And I'm fine with that. And I'm going to sell it all. And I'm probably going to hold very little. And then a 10 eventually is going to come to market. And I'm just really excited to see what that's going to do. Some people said 500,000. Well, that's a foregone conclusion. You can't have the 9 where there's 10 of them sell for 175, and the 10 that there's 2 of only sell for 500. We're talking 7 figures, or we're not talking at all, I don't think. And that's a wild thing to say, because a year and a half ago, I would have said $250,000's a lot for the 10, like a lot. But the market just didn't have the price history to support it. And now in a very short period of time, the price history's there, and it keeps every single day going higher. I don't know what's going on. I know some of the people involved, but I can't pretend to know what's going on.
I mean, I don't know. It feels so similar to what we saw with manga prices jumping real quick. It's just, I don't know. Like, I'd be cautious.
You have to be cautious. There's no way. This is not for everyone to get involved. But if you want to hang out and buy some of the lower dollar things that, maybe they went from $300 to $1,700, and it's not going to change your life if that $1,700 purchase ends up being worth $700 in 3 months, then you could have some fun. But in terms of these numbers, this category, very few people can afford to do this. And I'm sure they could afford to take the risk, but it's definitely not stable. I mean, this is a lot of really, really fresh realizations of values, and we have no idea what's going to happen next. But if I have a 9, I'm selling it immediately. There's no way I'm holding it looking at these values. So
was going to be my next question. Like you already said, there's 9 PSA 9s, or excuse me, there's 9 other PSA 9s.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what's the percentage that one is instantly selling? I mean, if you're watching this, you've been sitting on your PSA 9 for however long you had it. I mean, you're thinking to yourself, yeah, I'll absolutely sell into this hype right now. Are you going to see a lot of 9s hit market, and are we going to see a 10 hit the market? I believe it's known that the person who owns the 10 owns both 10s, correct?
It has to come to market. If he doesn't bring it to market now, what are you waiting for? Like, I don't care how much, a lot of times people are retired, they've done well for themselves, and 175K doesn't change your life. Does $1 million change your life, though? And even if it doesn't change your life, isn't it about time to turn one of your pieces of cardboard to $1 million? You got 2 of them. Who gives a shit? If it didn't matter to you to sell it, then just sell it for fun. Let's find out if someone's willing to pay $1 million for this card, because apparently someone is absolutely willing to pay $1 million for this card, and good on them. I just need him to sell the damn card just so I could watch the thing. It's my form of entertainment.
And yeah, I mean, we've seen this in plenty of other places, comics, that kind of thing. Like, when you have these big spikes, they're gonna trickle out, and you want to be on the earlier side of that, because you don't know if that 170. I mean, maybe 175 isn't the peak. But
no, you need to sell right now, though, because the guarantee is there's a comp.
You're going to get like a few of them coming out.
you guys are so not moon boys, okay? This is just the beginning, guys.
No,
this
you're
is
at the
just
moon already.
the beginning.
This card was purchased for $21.
Title of the show, okay? We are in the great
one of them
bull market. We are now in the great bull market. This thing is going to last forever, okay? Collectibles only go up. Everybody knows this. Rob, what are you thinking about this? I mean, this is just another Tuesday in trading cards. This isn't even that much money compared to what card we're about to talk about in the sports card world very soon. But I don't know, 175, I guess, whatever.
My mind doesn't go to this sale. My mind goes to, and we've already seen it, the trickle-down effect to other cards, not Spider-Man. Like
the Wolverine Terabusi card on a fucking
I'm not even necessarily even going Marvel. Like another card that has really gotten hot lately, that this is probably going to help boost that is, and I forget the year, is the Walt Disney card. This could potentially impact the 77 Luke. This could impact the Batman card. This is this is going to trickle down to some effect, I think, to a lot of that other stuff, because anytime something like this sells, there's two usually outcomes. One, it brings more than the market, and then two, people immediately go to what's next, and you start running down the list of pop culture iconic cards or whatever, and it's not that long of a list of stuff. And some of this stuff is already done pretty well. That Walt Disney card is way up. The Batman is way up. The 77 Luke had a monster sale that I think we talked about like a couple of months ago, and I think a PSA 9, I don't remember what that was, but it sold for a huge number that kind of reset that market. So that's where my mind is going with this, not so much this one selling for 175. It's what does this mean for insert whatever iconic character you want here, whatever their first trading card is.
Let's not talk about some of those other trading cards that I have on my want list. Okay. But it just keeps happening, where it's like, you see some of these prices and you think to yourself, like, yeah, one of these days I'm just going to snipe one of these things. Like the market's not going to watch. And then it just sells like a little higher than you want it to be. And then it just sells a little higher than you want it to be. And then the next one rolls around and that one sells a little higher than you want it to be. And I just feel like there's just like this contagion right now with like the FOMO sales. Like everyone just sees like the person who today decided I'm going to buy that PSA 8 for $50K. Like they just saw enough. You know what I mean? Like they were like, I get it. Like this, I guess the auction for the PSA 9 was sitting at maybe 120 most of the day.
Yeah.
But they had seen enough, and they were just like, you know what? One grade lower, I'm down 50K. Even though 2 weeks ago I could have had it for half the price. I just wonder, like, the people out there, the Gary V's of the world and stuff, they keep saying, this stuff is hasn't even begun yet. It hasn't even begun. Those are some of the words that they throw out. And maybe maybe we should just be buying everything, guys.
No, you should be selling. I hear you though.
I'm just kidding. I'm having the conversation. I'm just floating it out. We're having fun here.
You buy the stuff that hasn't moved yet.
Usually when an auction ends, if it gets paid, it shows it's paid pretty soon. 175K is a lot of money. Maybe it goes through a different set of like whatever before it's posted, but I need this thing to be proven to be paid, please.
Well, we have to believe that it's going to sell, but until we get there, we got to move on now to our next topic, because listen, 175K is a lot, but it's not $2 million a lot, because guys, I don't know if you've been following what's been going on in sports card land, but the bounties for sports cards are out of control. We got to talk about the Cooper Flag rookie debut patch auto that has multiple people putting up bounties for it. This all started a couple weeks ago when the Dallas Mavericks actually made a post where they wanted to get the Cooper Flag rookie debut patch. If you guys don't know, Cooper Flag was a #1 overall draft pick for the Dallas Mavericks. He's obviously has shown to be a really, really phenomenal player so far in his rookie year. And the Dallas Mavericks, I guess, wanted to get in on his card, which I thought was kind of funny. But they offered a bounty, which, is to say that if you give us the card, we'll give you some value back. They said that if you give us his card, if you find it and you pull it, they'll give you 2 Maverick season premium lower level tickets for 32 years, a Cooper signed game worn rookie jersey, a post game photo with Cooper, a private photo shoot with the NBA Rookie of the Year trophy, which I'm assuming is his, a VIP tour of the Mavericks practice facility, private basketball experience for 10 guests, and a road trip experience to go see the Mavs versus the Celtics. Nice to offer that, but like even when that came out, I was like, I would definitely not take that. That seems not that great a value. I mean, I want floor seats if you're going to give me 32 years of
lower level.
Yeah, lower level premium. Like, come on. I want to be on the floor, like sitting next to, Mark Cuban, who I guess probably doesn't own them anymore. But then, yeah, I know. Shows you I'm going to date myself. Then it came to Jelly Bean, who I had never heard of her, which you guys probably going to say, Cap, yeah, sure. I had never heard this person. But apparently,
I'm sure you spent all week doing deep research.
Listen, to prepare the show, I have to do a lot of research. You're right. So
I want to see the receipts for the tax write-offs that got submitted for the business expenses for this research.
Well, listen, like she doesn't need my expenses because she's doing obviously very well, because she, after that, put up a $2 million bounty for the card, which was pretty insane. That she was willing to pay that much for it. And then after that, it came out that, of course, friend of the channel, Ken Golden, was also want to get in on the action and put out his own bounty, except his bounty was going to be, he's going to give you a $1.5 million cash advance, and then he's going to sell it on Golden auctions. And, obviously he's going to try to get, $3 million, $4 million, $5 million, whatever the case may be. So don't take the $2 million bounty, take my $1.5 million advance, and then we'll sell the card for $5 million or whatever it ends up being. And then this auction house, which is Alts Auctions, ended up just saying, you know what, we're going to just do a simulation auction sale for the card on our site. And if you have this card and you want to take us up on what this thing sells for, then we'll pay you that price, which is hilarious when you think about it. That it's like, why don't I run an auction for it, and then when I get paid, I'll give you the money or whatever, and I'll take my 10%, which is, I just thought was so funny. But that current auction is at $3.1 million, which maybe this is something that ended. I mean, Rob, you can tell me.
No, if you click show more, they have a stipulation on here that if they don't get the card by a certain date, then it's called off. No, show more right under the first ever, right above the highest bid number, purple lettering. There you go.
Yeah.
So if they don't have the card by August 27th at 9 p.m. Then, or wait,
yeah, August 27th.
If Alt does not receive the auction card by August 20th is the drop dead date. Your bid will be canceled and disregarded. So this still has another 4 days left on it.
Yeah.
I don't know where the card's going yet. It was actually Jeff Wilson posted a reel that it was at Cards HQ today. So the guy flew down there for something. Maybe Jeff's helping him facilitate something because it's cold in Maryland or Maryland.
Yeah,
Massachusetts.
I didn't even know it had been found. So it has
been. It got pulled this week.
Yeah, to finish out the setup, and sorry, I'll let you guys jump back in here. So, Rob, you posted the clip of this on your X account. This was during a breaker where someone had bought into the break, and I think they paid like $300 or whatever it was.
$550, I think, $515.
Okay, bought into the break, $550, and wouldn't you know it, these guys named Roadie Breakers ended up pulling the card, and it's been found, and I guess they're honoring it. They're giving away this multi-million-dollar card for $500
right there, and
yeah, the stream did cut. Shout out to them for being honorable about it.
I mean, this is the role. Breakers are, not necessarily a $3 million card, but breakers are. This happens to them, every day, where they pull something super valuable for way less of a slot.
Yeah, absolutely. But so anyways, the card is now pulled, and I think that that's a good time to send it back to you guys as a panel so we can sort of talk about this. Rob, I'm looking at you to kick us off here. Bounties are insane in the sports card world right now. And now that we know what people are sort of willing to pay and the card is out there, if you were that guy, what are you doing here?
I'll kick this off with, this is 100% a situation of comics could never. Like, comics wish they could do something like this. And does the 66 Marvel really, the 66 Spider-Man really matter if OnlyFans models aren't putting out $1 million bounties on it?
Yeah, where's the PSA 10 card 34 bounty?
Yeah, but slide into Jelly Bean's DMs later and tell her that's what she needs to hop on next.
Yeah.
I would probably auction this. There was a similar situation a couple of weeks ago, actually during the National. There was a rather large bounty for an Otani dual logo man, dual auto, where he signed one in English and one in kanji. And there was an $11 million bounty for it. And there was multiple $10 million bounties for it. And they took an $11 million. There's actually a $12 million bounty. They accepted an $11 million bounty because it was US based versus overseas. And there was a lot of speculation that card probably would have sold for a lot more. I think these big super headliner chase cards of products, I think you're better off to throw them to auction. I think if it's like a second or third tier hit, that you're probably better off just to accept the bounty depending on the player. But these ultra ones like this, in the current environment that we are in, where investment firms and ultra rich dudes are throwing around cash like crazy, I would just say, all right, take your egos and go battle it out and throw it to Ken or Heritage or whoever gives you the best deal on it. Because that's the thing with a card like this, you can essentially write your own terms. You know, the auction house is not probably going to make a lot of money on this on any of these transactions because they're going to give such favorable terms to try to get it in the door. It's worth it for them for the marketing expense of saying we got this card than anything else. Yeah. So I'll be curious to see where this Cooper flag ends up, if they accept the bounty or if they auction it. If it was me, I would auction it. But I do know, like I said, right before we went live, I saw on Instagram that Jeff Wilson down in Atlanta had the owner of the card, or the guy that pulled it, and the actual redemption in his hand at his shop. And he said more to come soon. So I don't know if he's just doing content with the guy, or if maybe he is helping like guide this guy in terms of what to do with it. Because there is, you know, yes, it would be amazing to hit something like this, but it's kind of like winning the Powerball. There's probably some headaches that come along with this. You know what I mean? Like, and this guy was publicly known very quickly. I can only imagine what his, you know, DMs look like and his cell phone messages, and people probably figuring out where he lives, because everybody wants to get their hands on this, whether it's an auction house to sell it or some ultra rich dude to just buy it outright. Good problem to have, but I'm sure this is not something that you're necessarily prepared to deal with when you know what I mean?
But yeah, I'm with you though on this. If with the free publicity that this card has already gotten, I don't know why you wouldn't auction it. I mean, it just, I don't see it going for less than 3.1, you know, and it's probably going to go for a lot more. I wouldn't be surprised if it's, I don't even know what these things potentially could be, but I mean, just given the hype around it, I would auction it, and I would want it to auction quick, because you never know when injuries are going to happen. And so,
well, you're in the NBA off season right now, so you do have a little bit of time. The season doesn't start till October. So
yeah, but I mean, that's not that far away for an auction to be set up. So that's why if you're doing an auction, I would want it auctioned before the season starts.
I would want the auction to end right around when the season starts. Basketball, you have a little less risk of crazy injuries than you do like if it's a baseball player, like a pitcher. For context, the biggest one to date was the Paul Skeens rookie 101 that Dick's actually bought, like the company Dick's bought for $1.1 million, and this will blow that out of the water. NBA has way bigger of a market, and an NBA player is way safer than a pitcher is. But that just goes to show you like the type of people that are buying these things. Like literally Dick's, the clothing store or the sporting goods store, bought that card for $1 million to put in there, and it's actually on display at their store in Pittsburgh.
I feel like with the move, you know, if this happens, like you're instantly. Well, actually, it's kind of funny because it's in the hands of the breaker. So I don't know if you're flying to them or you're arranging some.
This guy did, I believe, got up the next. So the stories come out. There's a piece in the Athletic that he flew there the next day to pick it up.
Yeah, I would fly to them and then instantly fly to PSA and get
you
it.
don't have to. That's not the actual card. It's a redemption.
Oh, the redemption. Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah, Topps has the actual card. They don't put these in packs.
Okay. Well, then I'm flying straight to Topps or whatever the redemption is. You know, I'm hand delivering that thing, and then I'm at that point. I'm just saying.
Well, if it was me, I mean, in a case like this, it's going to be a little bit different. Topps has, or Fanatics has, basically like high-end concierge that deals with this sort of stuff. So they were probably talking to that guy as soon as it became publicly known. And this is not going through the normal process. If I hit some random guy's auto out of 500 in a pack where I redeem it online. So I am sure the arrangements have already been made that he has redeemed it, quote unquote, and it's just going to sit in the Topps vault until this thing ends up. It'll probably go straight from the Topps vault or wherever Fanatics stores it straight to whatever auction house it's going to go to. And I'm sure they'll go to New York or something and do some little like conference room thing where, you know, the guy that hit it and the family get to hold the card for like an hour and hang out with it or whatever before it heads off to whatever auction house it's going to hit.
Well, pretty crazy stuff with the bounties out there. I mean, I feel like bounties have just become more and more a thing, you know, as they continue to manufacture these one-of-ones situations. I mean, Cooper Flag seems like he's maybe a generational talent. I mean, we'll have to see. So maybe you can't always replicate this, but
you're going to be able to, because they have these debut patches on every single rookie that plays in every single first game ever. So every year you're constantly going to have whoever the type guy is.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, you know, but is Cooper Flag like a generational talent, or is he just like your average?
Yeah.
Number on
paper. How many times have you heard that though? Like, I mean, it just takes. It's like, oh, if it ends up that you know he has like his bones break easily. I can't remember the guy's name, but there was that one, like there was a really tall. Oh, they're obviously all really tall, but there was a. I don't remember who it was. He ended up having all kinds of like stress fractures in his legs, and then it was like his career was over, and he was supposed to be like, you know, the next big player. And it's just like, you never know with this stuff, and that's why I was selling so quick.
Yeah, Spider-Man never gets injured. That's why you got to buy card 34 instead.
The thing with these debut patches is like there's so much risk in them, but like somebody is going to crush it on one of these, because you go back in time.
Yes, and Greg Oden. Thank you.
Because these never existed before until the last couple of years, but you could play like the fun what if game of like, imagine if you had the debut patch. Imagine you paid $6 million for LeBron's debut patch. And a bunch of idiots on the internet are like, you overpaid for that. Like today, that would be like $100 million. I have no idea what that would sell for today. Or like if Otani had one of these, or Trout, or, you know, insert whatever player here that has this massive career, it would sell for astronomical sums of money. But most people are going to get their asses kicked on these.
Absolutely. Well, that kind of wraps up the sports card segment, unless you got anything else to talk about.
Did you have the CGC thing for cards anywhere on your slide deck or no?
I did have it. I was kind of at the end as like a quick little grabby bag thing. All right, let's kind of just wrap. We've been going long here, but we got one more big topic to hit on, you know, because basically we got to end on a high note here. We got to talk about how we're back. We got to talk about how we're in the bull market, and we have to say thank you to Adam Driver, because the other night, it was D23, which is Disney's version of a fan expo where they do their announcements of all their projects that they got coming up. And they announced their X-Men cast, which you guys can see in front of you. I'm sure a lot of you have already seen, you know, the names that have been circulated for these particular characters: Professor X, Christopher Abbott, Cyclops, Kit Carner, Indy Navarrete. You know, she's kind of the Hollywood it girl because she was an Obsession, is playing Rogue. Maya Board-Storm, Mara Weaving, Emma Frost. We talked about her the other week. And then Sadie Sink was Jean Grey. We all saw her in Spider-Man, which I think is not really a spoiler anymore. Shame on you. I mean, listen, the movie made $2 billion. Everyone's seen it already. There's no spoilers. Okay, and then, but the most important thing, Adam Driver being announced as Mr. Sinister. And we saw
but it was a funny announcement though, because he didn't say Mr. Sinister. He said Nathaniel Milbury, and nobody in this audience knew who that was.
Yeah.
It was just silent.
Like 5 people were like, yes.
It was so funny.
You have to be a real nerd to know that Nathaniel Milbury is the real name for Mr. Sinister. But we saw X-Men 221 in the aftermarket sell like crazy amounts. I mean, this is now the same volume of sales we saw for, the Ghost Rider books when that happened at San Diego Comic-Con. It's been an absolutely insane market. I mean, prior to this announcement, this was hovering around like a $250 book. Now it's a $400 book regularly selling. I mean, it's likely going to come back down, but you never really know. Similarly, we've seen a lot of sales for, Avengers Annual 10. This book had been pretty much dead for a long time. And, you couldn't give this thing away for a while because there's so many copies out there. But we've seen, pretty decent 90th sale, almost at $1,000, and then newsstands selling for $1,500. And we've had lots of conversation about, like now apparently Sacha Baron Cohen will return as Mephisto in Ghost Rider. I haven't checked the Silver Surfer books, but I'm setting this all up to kind of highlight some of the recent videos that I put out on the channel where it's like, this is crazy. Like, this is my warning to collectors. I did my comic index update where we're seeing the graph starting to trickle up once again. And I'd love to hear you guys' kind of thoughts on, the reaction of where we are, within comic books. It's been a long time. We've been waiting for this moment to where values actually start to trend up. Mm-hmm. Ryan, Manu, Rob, are we Moon Boy? Is this Moon Boy summer or is this Moon Boy decade?
What do you think? This was one of my biggest predictions at the end of the year. So I'm right where we thought we would be.
I feel like comic prices often don't do that great in the summer. So I don't know for sure. I feel like in the summer they tend to, because there's a lot more of the cons and everything. So the auctions haven't historically gotten as big of attention and all that. And so I think it has been an impressive move. I hope it's not just another blip up. It gets tiring seeing the prices drop for so long from those peaks during the comic boom. And, and like we've talked about before, like Neo has said, where cards seem to often lead the way for comics. I mean, maybe that's what we're seeing now. But yeah, obviously we won't know for sure. It's going to take time, but it does appear that comics have been making a move back. I mean, we started talking about earlier this year. It seemed like there was I had felt it, and I think you had felt it, like in the videos where the comments in our videos weren't as negative anymore. Like videos that you talk, like if you have a video where it's like, CGC did this, those weren't getting the views anymore. I mean, the mentality did seem to be shifting earlier this year, and we are starting to see that, it seems, in prices as well.
Yeah. What do you think, Manu? I know you're right now. You're wheeling and dealing. I know you're selling every single card 34. Like this guy can't even be bothered. He's on the show. We're live right now. This guy's over here flinging Donruss cards. I mean, what is this? What is this?
I'm sorry. I think I love it. I love the comic book values going up. I personally feel that the comic book values are going to continue to go up. I think it's going to start with your sort of mainstay books, your more recognizable books. Like as people start hearing about prices and they're like, what comic book should I buy? And someone's going to tell them, oh, the first Wolverine's $181. Like I think those kind of things that are liquid, readily available, values will start increasing. And then what I'm curious to see is if we get to a market where just cool shit appreciates. And we said that a little bit on the last episode too. And along those lines, friend of the channel, friend in general, collector. Well, I guess we're friends because of collecting and stuff. I'm familiar with the name now through a few different avenues, but Randall is a friend of the channel. And also what's interesting is, the Comics Den YouTube channel, Comics Den, right? Mm-hmm. They did a feature on Randall as like an old school collector. And I think I've seen that video, and I was reminded, but regardless, the point that I'm making is after last week's episode or 2 weeks ago, he went and bought the Marvel Age 87. So that was really cool. Yeah. And he messaged me to let me know. So that's, again, that Ghost Rider cover that you pulled up in a newsstand with only 9.8s on the census, possibly only one newsstand because they're not broken out. And that might have been it. And he just headed over to my comic shop and took the standard discount off of the eBay price and just pulled the trigger. And he couldn't be happier to have it added to his collection. That's the sort of excitement that I want to see kick in, where it's not a book that anyone thought about 3 months ago, and now, $2,000. Let's go ahead and buy it. So I like where the market's going. I love it. I look forward to wheeling and dealing a bunch of comics in an enthusiastic market for the next couple of years.
I'll say if this is if it is, you know, if this is a case of cards leading the way, the one thing that is a lot different about this particular card boom compared to the COVID boom is it has been very concentrated on the best of the best, and not necessarily in terms of grade, but just like if I could, the equivalent would be AF-15, Hulk 181, like basically the blue chip of blue chip stuff would be what sees the big gains, because that's what happened in cards. It's Jordan, it's Ohtani, it's Griffey, it's Brady, it's Peyton Manning to a lesser degree. It's like those sort of top tier, Kobe Bryant, Jordan, like those guys have seen a massive run up in prices over the course of the last 2 to 3 months. So if that same thing carries over to comic books, my guess would be we would see the biggest rises on like the blue chip of the blue chip. And that was part of the reason why I talked about this when I bought it. There was a big reason why I wanted to lock in the AF-15 when I did, because I feel like there is a chance that that was the last chance for me to get one at that price point. If that momentum carries over in the comic books, that I could get priced out of something like that very quickly.
Well, it's a really good point, because I mean, on my thumbnail, when I did my index update, I said your last chance. And obviously I'm being, dramatic here, but I really did feel like, with all the things kind of going on, like I feel like I'm getting deja vu to when I was making YouTube content in like 2020, but around this time where like you could kind of feel like something was starting to change and like the tide was starting to turn. And like, I just made the bold prediction. I was like, yeah, I think that this is, these next few months are probably going to be like the last times that you can buy at this price level. We've been flat for the last 2 years, going down the prior two before that. And if there's that key, like in your situation, Rob, where you're like, yeah, that AF-15, you know what? Like, it's been long enough. Like, opportunity cost be damned. Like, I think it's okay. I think I can like buy it now, and maybe I can even ride the wave up if I'm that lucky. And it just feels like there's so many factors that really is making that happen in the comic market. And more importantly, like winning begets winning too, where it's like you have the Marvel Spotlight sales happen. So then everyone's like, the contagion effect, where it's like, oh, well, like now I can just buy this key and sell it or get my money back out of it if I need to, because people are actually buying stuff. So it's not like dead money anymore, which I think is maybe even the biggest win for allowing people to start buying once again.
Yeah, I would say like if there's, we proved it this week with the Sinister thing. If there's any X-Men keys that you're like, oh, I've been putting that one off, I maybe wouldn't put that off anymore. Especially if it's something that's not like, I'm not talking like an X-Men 1, obviously, but like if you have like some first appearance of Jubilee or first appearance of Havoc or first Alpha Flight, some like random X-Men key that's a first appearance of like a B or C tier character that you've had on like your watch list for a while, and you just keep putting it off, and you're just kind of like, I'll pick up one day. It's not that rare. I'll just go ahead and grab it whenever. Those are the sorts of things that I would specifically be looking for, because it does feel like we are getting ready to head into like the X-Men era of the MCU hardcore. Like that cast that you showed is extremely young. They are going to be around for a very long time if the movies are good.
As long as the movies don't suck.
Yeah. As long as the movies I mean, to be honest, even if the movies are mid, they're probably still going to be a really long time, because they're still probably going to print money.
Well, like I get the sense that they're, so obviously Spider-Man Brand New did very well, and it was well received. I get the sense that there's a confidence about Doomsday, at least so to, that they feel pretty good about it, that it's going to do really well. I'm sure it's going to make just as much money. It's going to get $2 billion. And I feel like if you do that movie okay, and then Secret Wars is next year, like whether X-Men is good or not, those are going to give such a tailwind to like the goodwill of people thinking about the MCU, that those X-Men books are going to feel the gains as a result of it.
I still am wondering how much Dune coming out at the same time is going to hurt the numbers on that movie. I think that Dune, not as many theaters.
I think it's going to be like Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be like Barbie and Oppenheimer because there's another. Actually, I don't want to derail us, but like there's a whole cultural thing that's happening right now with like even like younger people. Like everybody wants to be a part of the community and they want to be a part of like the moments, and that's what happened with Barbie and Oppenheimer, where it was like that was just the moment, and they want to like be they want to have the experience. And so I think that weekend, it's like all of your friends, whether you care about Marvel or Dune, all of your friends are going to go to the theater. So like, I'm just going to go to the theater like that weekend. So I actually think both those movies are going to do pretty well either way.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of people doing like double features of those two, I have a feeling.
Yeah, there's gonna be like a billion TikTok videos of people being like
Barbieheimer. I had friends that made like Barbieheimer shirts, and they went to both of them. It was like half.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, get ready with me as I go to watch Dune and Doomsday. They're gonna be like, oh my god, look at this popcorn bucket, check it out. Like there's gonna be so many TikToks that are like that. Well, guys, we did it. I mean, Rob, I don't know if you want to talk quickly about the CGC thing.
What's
the CGC?
I just curious. I want to know what it is though. What's the CGC?
CGC just got a little CGC, and they threw some shade at PSA.
Oh man!
All right, we'll just do. Hold on, we'll just do. Okay, end of the show. Check-in tracker. Beckett comes out. They say, guys, we got a call from Daddy, which is PSA, because they've shut down their doors. We also need to shut down our doors, and we cannot take your submissions because Daddy doesn't want us to steal anyone's business. And then CGC was like, hey, we're not controlled by those guys. We're still open for business. So they did one of their posts that just said, $17 per card, come use us. And that's kind of where we are. This is all as a result of the PSA backlog tracker, which that's still a big number overall. So that's been going down. Yeah, it hasn't been moving. So I don't know, guys. That's kind of what the story is. But if you have thoughts on that, it is what it is. CGC, send your card. Send your Cooper flag card to CGC.
The funny part though is that CGC currently is very far behind. And I know how you like to read the comments on social posts. You don't have to do it now because it's late, but I would highly encourage you to go back and read the comments on that post. There is a lot of people that have cards currently sitting at CGC that they've been waiting like 5 or 6 months for that are not.
Funny that you mentioned cards taking months to get back. Yeah, definitely not a lot of people that were in agreement. I feel like anytime CGC makes one of these black backgrounds with the white text, like it's always like, why did you post that?
Yeah, people were not feeling that post.
They should spend more time improving their sliders at their events to get Swagglehouse's vote instead of.
I totally agree. They need to improve their sliders if they want my business and they want me to send my manga to them because again they just opened up their manga. And the last slide I have to do, which is my rough segue, is guys. Got to be careful out there because Beckett just announced that the newest, highest, greatest first appearance of Dragon Ball Z has been added to the census just 5 days ago. We have a Weekly Shonen Jump number 51 now in a Beckett 9.4. I feel like this is a good way to kind of wrap it all up and talk about this because it's like, you got to be careful whether it's video games or manga
I'm shocked.
Whatever.
I am shocked.
Apparently high grade still exists. Maybe there's high grade Donrusses. Maybe there's PSA 11 Donrusses.
I am going to grade a card 34 PSA 10. That is my goal.
That is my goal.
If you get a Beckett Black Label, that would be the
Holy
PSA
cow.
11.
I'll take you to dinner.
Yeah. Well, guys, that's going to wrap it up for another banger of an episode on the Ungraded Truth podcast. I want to say thank you guys for tuning in tonight. I want to say a special thank you to a couple of super chats here. Hard Nip Gizzardo with a 99-cent super sticker. We appreciate you.
Wait, what? Can we
that
have
was
that
worth
again?
his 99 cents.
Can you say
that was well
and,
worth the 99 cents.
Swag, can you say that again and say daddy in the sentence again too?
God.
I will not say daddy, but Hard Nips Gizzardo. We appreciate
you accidentally
your
log in with your
super sticker
your Jelly Bean user ID there or something and send that to ourselves.
Oh my God. And then also shout out to Jeffrey Becker Photographs, who's just glazing up Rob over there. Shout out to Neo.
Let's go. Let's hear it.
Can't think of anyone in the hobby community that can talk as fluently about comics, TCG, and sports. Which topic is your favorite?
Probably sports and comics. And Jeff's great. I've met Jeff multiple times in person. Good dude.
There you go. Well, thank you, Jeff. We appreciate your $4.99 right there. And we appreciate everybody who hangs out with us every other Sunday or Saturday. We're going to go back to Saturday. Actually, a little bit of a special announcement. We are not going to have a show the next time, 2 weeks from now, but we will be back that third week. So a little bit of a pause for the Ungraded Truth. I'm sure we'll have tons of stuff to talk about, which is why you got to go over to the Ungraded Truth YouTube channel, link in the description. Go give us a sub over there. Try to get us to 2,000 subscribers. Also, hop on over to our Spotify page. Give us a follow. Maybe give us a 5-star review. We would definitely appreciate it. Also, shout out to Elite Comics 11 for being one of the sponsors of the Ungraded Truth. Link in the description. Guys, go over there. Give them a follow. And, tell them the Ungraded Truth sent you, as well as shout out to Heritage Auctions. Go make an account over there. Exclusive offer. Save $50 on your first purchase of $100 or more. I mean, if you bought some of these X-Men 221s on there, you would have been able to get them for a fraction of the price, before we had this explosion with Adam Driver. So link in the description. Go check them out. Heritage Auctions. We appreciate them for sponsoring the channel. And I appreciate my co-hosts for hanging out with me. Anyways, we're going to end the show there. Thanks, guys, for watching. See y'all in the next episode. Detective Comics set a record for 1.8 million. Nobody really cares.
Who are annoyed that people are asking them questions, is this book banned? That question didn't exist a year ago.
Somebody's submitting like 25 vintage books and getting 15 9.9s.
We always think, how can it ever get crazier? And then it always does.